Chapter 434. Ning Shu added his attribute points to intelligence, luck, and martial strength. Intelligence was important, but martial strength was a must. His status panel changed. Serial number 23333. Name: Ning Shu, beginner mission taker. Age: 27. Contribution points: 250,015,000. Soul: 200 HP, 60 intelligence, 10010 charm, 3 luck, 345 mental power, 120 martial strength, 5510 faith, 6 aptitude, 26 merit, 36 skills. 5th ring spear technique, trash fighting technique, beginner peerless martial arts, beginner level business management knowledge. Honorary title: Goddess of War, Selfless Ancestor Aura, Mother of the World, Queen's Blessing, Sister Model Worker, Chen Shi's Blessing. Leader Aura, Grass Blessing. After adding his attribute points, Ning Shu opened the exchange store. He first exchanged for fasting pills, antidote pills, water, and medicine. These were all necessities for survival. Thinking of the mission where he was bewitched by Song Ning, although he exchanged for the calm aura, it was not very useful. Ning Shu wanted to exchange for something that could help him resist the temptation of the outside world. Browsing the system store, Ning Shu saw the Clear Heart Incantation. The Clear Heart Incantation could calm one's heart and mind. It was even better when used with the calm aura. Without thinking, he exchanged for it, spending 50,000 points. This mission made Ning Shu very tired. Although his soul was no longer weak, he still felt very tired. For the time being, he did not want to enter the mission world. Instead, he took out a book from the bookshelf. This book was very thick, and it recorded many treasures. For example, the Chaos Stone and the Myriad World Stone that Ning Shu had encountered were all recorded. There were all kinds of strange treasures that opened Ning Shu's eyes. Ning Shu read the book, memorizing all these things in his mind. This way, if he encountered a treasure, he would not miss it. While completing the mission, he also obtained more resources for himself. Forget about the heart of true love. His 3 points of charm would not even make a dog ignore him, let alone attract people. After obtaining the heart of true love and then leaving the world, Ning Shu still felt a little uncomfortable. After an unknown amount of time, Ning Shu finished reading the book and felt a headache. However, whenever he encountered something good, Ning Shu would be able to recognize it at a glance. After wandering around the system space for a long time, Ning Shu finally wanted to do a quest. He said to 2333, "Enter the quest world. Is it a man or a woman this time?" Female client. 2333 said, "Hurry up and become an intermediate quest taker. That way, you will be able to meet the quest taker in advance and talk to the quest taker face to face. Then, you will be able to determine the direction of the quest." Ning Shu was stunned for a moment before he asked, "You can meet the client in advance for every mission?" "Of course, but you don't have the authority to do so now. Moreover, an intermediate mission taker can reject the client. If the reward is too low, they can reject it completely. They can also bargain with the client." Ning Shu suddenly wanted to become an intermediate task giver. He asked, "How many points do I need to become an ultimate task giver?" 3 million points, 2333 said. Ning Shu was speechless. It felt so far away. She only had 200,000 points out of 3 million points, and she had to exchange them for all kinds of things every time. It seemed that she would have to save some money and work hard to become stronger so that she wouldn't have to sell these items. Ning Shu now truly felt that she was an ant. She was an ant at the bottom of the pyramid of quest takers. It was extremely difficult for her to even take a step forward. 2333, tell me the truth. Do you think I can make it this far? Ning Shu asked 2333. 2333 hesitated for a moment before he said, "I made an assessment based on your data. Your potential is not good. Compared to other quest takers, you are not as slick. You are not flexible enough, and your brain is stupid. I don't think you can make it far." Ning Shu stared blankly at him, speechless. What the fuck? The system was implying that she couldn't even reach the intermediate quest taker level. Ning Shu shrugged. Although she was a little disappointed by 2333's words, she quickly pulled herself together. She was already a dead person. Now that she had the chance to experience 100 different kinds of life, it was already a blessing to be able to live like this. Even if she were to be erased one day, she would be satisfied with her life. 2333 said that she wasn't slick enough and wasn't flexible enough. She was just that stubborn. As long as she was alive, she had to be herself. Even if she was just a tool to repair the realm, she had to live happily. Let's enter the quest. Ning Shu said, striving for the 3 million points. Ning Shu's head buzzed. She felt herself merging with her body. Before she could open her eyes, someone suddenly lifted her blanket. A gust of cold wind blew in, making Ning Shu shiver. Sister Miao, why aren't you up yet? The sun is high up in the sky. A female voice sounded in her ear. She didn't sound old. Ning Shu wasn't in a good state. After a while, she opened her eyes. She ignored the girl in front of her and covered herself with the blanket. It was so cold. Sister Miao, Mom is here to wake me up. The girl looked at Ning Shu curled up in bed and reached out to pull Ning Shu's blanket. What are you doing? Ning Shu looked at the girl. She was about 17 or 18 years old. Her skin was a little dark, and she wore white ear studs of an unknown material. She also wore a red down jacket, which made her face even darker. The girl saw that Ning Shu was staring at her with a sharp gaze. Her heart trembled. She pouted and said, Sister Miao, Mom is asking you to get up. The village isn't like the city. You'll be laughed at if you don't get up after so long. Ning Shu hadn't accepted the plot yet, so she didn't know what was going on. She said to the girl, You go out first. I'll come out soon. City people are so troublesome. The girl muttered. She then asked Ning Shu, Sister Miao, your pajamas are so beautiful. Can you lend it to me? Ning Shu was speechless. You go out first. Ning Shu said calmly. The girl thought that Ning Shu had agreed. She reluctantly looked at Ning Shu's pajamas before leaving. After the girl went out, Ning Shu got up from the bed and locked the door. Moreover, the lock was the kind of iron plate lock that was relatively old. If someone used force, it could be kicked open from the outside. Ning Shu looked at the pajamas he was wearing and the pair of pink slippers on his feet. He didn't fit in with the surroundings of Gij. The floor was uneven with mud. The furniture around him looked new, but the style was very old-fashioned. The workmanship wasn't very good either. Ning Shu could even smell the smell of paint. There was a brand new Shi character pasted on the wall. The original owner was already married. Ning Shu felt very cold. He rubbed his hands and immediately shrunk back to the bed. He wrapped himself in the blanket and began to accept the plot. Chapter 435. This was the story of a poor boy and a rich young lady. The original owner was called Miao Miao Miao. She fell in love with Zhang Jiasen, an employee of her father's company. She ignored her parents' objections and insisted on marrying Zhang Jiasen. Miao 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 was an only child, and her mother lost her ability to conceive when giving birth to her. The couple naturally doted on Miao Miao Miao, and Miao 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 herself was also raised to be naive. Once, when she went to her father's company, her shoe heel broke. A man came over and helped her glue her shoe back together so that she didn't embarrass herself. Zhang Jiasen was a silent and steady man. He didn't laugh at Miao Miao Miao's sorry state. Instead, he helped Miao Miao Miao. Miao 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 saw that Zhang Jiasen was wearing a white shirt with a clean collar and wrist. He looked very refreshed. Miao 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 secretly glanced at the blue work pass hanging around Zhang Jiasen's neck and remembered his name. At that time, Miao Miao Miao's heart was jumping with joy. After that, she often went to the company and gradually became familiar with Zhang Jiasen. Zhang Jiasen was the kind of person who didn't talk much but gave off a feeling of being dependable. After the two of them confirmed their relationship, Zhang Jiasen told Miao 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 about his family situation. Miao 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 didn't mind that Zhang Jiasen's family was complicated. Instead, she felt heartache that Zhang Jiasen had a big family to support. He had parents to take care of and siblings to raise. Later, Zhang Jiasen proposed to Miao 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 and Miao 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 agreed. However, Miao Miao's parents firmly disagreed. Their spoiled daughter was marrying that poor boy who came from the mountains. Also, there were sisters, sisters-in-law, and brothers-in-law. It was so complicated that Meow Meow couldn't handle such relationships. However, Meow 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 was determined to marry Zhang Jiasun. Meow Meow's parents doted on their daughter and saw that Zhang Jiasun was also a talent. Thus, they agreed. However, there was a condition. Their first child, whether it was a daughter or a son, must have the surname Meow. To be honest, Meow Meow's parents were looking down on them. However, Zhang Jiasun agreed. Meow Meow's parents even sold a house for a few million yuan. Meow's father wanted to write Meow Meow Meow's name on the property certificate. However, Meow 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 felt that since they were about to get married, both of their names should be written on the property deed. Even if Zhang Jiasun refused, Meow 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 still insisted on writing Zhang Jiasun's name on the property deed. Thus, the premarital property became the joint property after marriage. Zhang Jiasun kissed Meow Meow Meow's lips for the first time. When the two of them were in a relationship, they were passionate and restrained by etiquette. The most intimate moment was when they held hands. The most intimate moment was when Zhang Jiasun kissed Meow Meow Meow's forehead. After all, Zhang Jiasun was his son-in-law. If his position was too low, it would be a joke. Zhang Jiasun was first promoted to section chief, then to department manager, and now to deputy general manager. He had only been in the company for 3 years, but his promotion speed was like a rocket. After the two of them got married, Zhang Jiasun brought Meow 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 back to his hometown. Only then did Meow 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 truly feel how poor Zhang Jiasun's family was. Everything in the mud house was very shabby. Cooking and burning firewood, smoke and fire were all present. This was something that Meow 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 could not imagine. Zhang Jiasun stayed at home for a few days and prepared to return to the city for work. However, he asked Meow 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 to stay behind. The reason was that he wanted Meow 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 to spend more time with her family. After some time, he would come and pick her up. Meow 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 felt that Zhang Jiasun's parents were considered as her parents, so she stayed behind. However, the days she stayed behind were not good. Meow 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 was a young lady from a wealthy family. But Zhang Jiasun's mother, Meow Meow Meow's mother-in-law, made Meow 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 feed chickens, ducks, pigs, and even cut pigweed from the fields. Meow 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 did not know how to do these things. She was sure that she would not do it well, and her mother-in-law would reprimand her. Meow 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 felt that this was her mother-in-law, Zhang Jiasun's mother, and she respected her mother-in-law very much. Meow 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 waited for Zhang Jiasun to pick her up. Even when Meow Meow Meow's parents called her to return, Meow 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 did not return. In the end, Meow Meow's father pressured Zhang Jiasun, and Zhang Jiasun brought Meow Meow back to the city. When Meow 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 returned, she focused on being a housewife and learned how to take care of Zhang Jiasun. The turning point of the matter was that Meow Meow's father had a cerebral hemorrhage and was hospitalized. His condition deteriorated rapidly, and he suddenly passed away, leaving behind Meow Meow Meow's mother and daughter. As the son-in-law of the Meow family, Zhang Jiasun naturally took action to stabilize the company. He had to take care of the company while taking care of the mother and daughter. In reality, the company already belonged to Zhang Jiasun. Meow Meow's mother was probably too heartbroken, and her body became weaker. A year later, she also passed away with Meow Meow's father. Two of her loved ones suddenly left her, and Meow Meow Meow's world collapsed. She became even more dependent on Zhang Jiasun, and she even became a little neurotic. Zhang Jiasun brought Meow 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 to the hospital for a checkup, and the result was that Meow 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 contracted a neurotic illness. She was too nervous. Once, Meow 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 saw a woman holding onto Zhang Jiasun's arm. Meow 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 did not care and wanted to rush over to question Zhang Jiasun. But when she was crossing the road, she was hit by a car and was sent flying far away. The last thing Meow 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 saw was Zhang Jiasun's cold face. Meow Meow Meow's wish was, she did not want to be deceived by Zhang Jiasun again. She wanted to protect her father's business and make Zhang Jiasun, who originally had nothing, lose everything. Ning Shu accepted the plot with this expression. She was such a pure and innocent girl. Meow 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 spent the first half of her life in a honeypot, and the second half of her life was full of tragedies. This Zhang Jiasun was not an ordinary person. Damn, it was really cold. Ning Shu wrapped himself in the blanket. Bang bang bang. Loud knocking sounds came from outside the door, and the dust on the wall fell. Meow meow, why are you still not getting up? Zhang Jiasan's mother's voice came from outside the door. She was the mother-in-law of this body. Zhang Jiasan's mother knocked on the door vigorously, and she kept calling meow meow. I'm coming soon. I'm still putting on my clothes. Ning Shu shouted. In the end, he lifted the blanket and got up. If he did not get up, this mother-in-law would not stop. This mother-in-law's favorite thing to do was to train this rich daughter-in-law, and then boast to others that her son married a rich family's daughter. She also trained this daughter-in-law well, and she did whatever she told her to do. Every time she received envious and jealous gazes, it satisfied Zhang Jiasan's mother's vanity. As for Meow Meow Meow's respect for her, she could not see it. She felt that she had suppressed this rich daughter-in-law. Are you done? Why are you still not coming out? The mother-in-law knocked on the door again. She was very forceful, and Ning Shu suspected that she was going to break in. Ning Shu put on his clothes and opened the door. He saw an old middle-aged woman. Her skin was dark and rough, and her face was thin. Even her cheekbones were protruding, and the corners of her eyes and forehead were filled with wrinkles. When the mother-in-law saw Ning Shu's clothes, she said ambiguously, "Why are you dressed so nicely? You still have work to do later. Seriously." Chapter 436. Ning Shu looked at the clothes he was wearing. It was well-tailored and had a nice design. It was indeed not suitable for work, but the original owner always wore such clothes. After all, his family was in the clothing business. Although the original owner was innocent, he had a good sense of aesthetics. After leaving the room, Ning Shu saw Zhang Jiasan's father sitting on the steps smoking. His trousers were rolled up and his feet were covered in mud. It was obvious that he had just returned from the fields. Meow Meow Meow's father-in-law basically didn't say anything to the original owner of the body. Everything was said to Zhang Jiasan and there was basically no communication between them. Ning Shu walked into the living room. Breakfast was placed on the table. Ning Shu felt a little hungry and sat down. Zhang Xiaomei, Zhang Qingqing walked in and said to Ning Shu, "Dad hasn't sat down yet. Why are you sitting down first?" Ning Shu did not know about this and stood up. Zhang Xiaomei pulled Ning Shu's arm and said coquettishly, "Sister Miao, you said that you would give me the pajamas." Ning Shu looked at Zhang Xiaomei. The down jacket she was wearing was bought by the original owner. Zhang Xiaomei's favorite thing to do was to ask Miao Miao if the original owner had anything good. Bags, clothes, cosmetics, even a crystal hair clip. Miao Miao was a person without any values. Money was just a number in her heart. Even a hair clip could cost a lot. But every time Zhang Xiaomei asked Miao Miao for something, she would give it to her. But Zhang Xiaomei had never called Miao 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 sister-in-law. Instead, she called her Sister Miao. What kind of a dress was this? Zhang Xiaomei saw that Ning Shu did not speak and shook Ning Shu's arm. "Sister Miao, can you lend it to me for a day?" Ning Shu, that she said that she would wear it for a day, but it was hers. "Miao Miao, lend it to Xiaomei for a day. I will ask her to return it to you." Zhang Jiasan's mother brought in a plate of pickled vegetables and placed it on the table. Zhang Xiaomei pouted but did not speak. Ning Shu said indifferently, "Let's talk after dinner." Zhang Jiasan's father walked in and sat at the head of the table. Breakfast was very simple. There were a few steamed buns, a plate of salted vegetables, and corn porridge. The weirdest thing was that each person could only have one steamed bun. Of course, a laborer like Zhang Jiasan's father could eat his fill. Every time Zhang Jiasan's mother cooked, she could accurately control the portion of each steamed bun. When Zhang Jiasan left, he gave his mother a lot of money to improve the food at home, but the food was still bad. Ning Shu felt that Zhang Jiasan's mother was reluctant to buy delicious food for an outsider like him. After she left, she was willing to eat. In this house, she was an outsider. Zhang Xiaomei had a twin brother. When it was time for dinner, he would come out of the house and play with his phone. He didn't raise his head and didn't greet anyone. Speaking of which, this phone was bought by the original owner. Before the original owner came to Zhang Jiasan's hometown, he prepared a lot of gifts. Zhang Jiasan called his family in advance to ask them what they needed. Then the original owner prepared the gifts one by one. Ning Shu thought that the original owner was silly. Ning Shu sat down. Zhang Jiasan's mother scooped a bowl of corn porridge for Ning Shu. Ning Shu looked at the bowl. It didn't seem clean. There were some black spots on it. The chopsticks didn't look clean either. Especially when he saw Zhang Jiasan's mother coughing and spitting phlegm while eating, Ning Shu didn't have much of an appetite. He only took a steamed bun to eat. It didn't taste good either. It felt like dead dough. Ning Shu felt disgusted. This was a daughter-in-law who had just arrived. Did she have to treat her so harshly? Was this a show of strength? He really didn't know how the original owner tolerated it. Ning Shu expressed that he couldn't tolerate it. When this family faced Miao Miao, they wanted to save face and feel inferior. In fact, they all wanted to step on Miao Miao's head, especially Miao Miao's mother-in-law. After dinner, Zhang Jiasan's mother said to Ning Shu, "Feed the pigs first. I've already fed the chickens and ducks. After feeding the pigs, go cut the pigweed." Ning Shu was speechless. Ning Shu didn't have the time to do these things. He had to go back and deal with Zhang Jiasan. Naturally, he would get rid of these blood-sucking worms. Ning Shu nodded to Zhang Jiasan's mother and said to Zhang Xiaomei, "Didn't you want pajamas? Come with me to the house to get it." Zhang Xiaomei suddenly smiled and followed Ning Shu into the house. When Zhang Jiasan's mother saw this scene, her lips squirmed but she didn't say anything in the end. Ning Shu gave the pajamas he changed out of in the morning to Zhang Xiaomei. Zhang Xiaomei touched the pajamas happily and exclaimed, "This is so comfortable." Ning Shu said to Zhang Xiaomei, "I'm not feeling well. Can you help me feed the pigs and then cut the pigweed?" Zhang Xiaomei's face suddenly turned ugly. She said with dissatisfaction, "Mom asked you to do it. This is your job. Since you married into our family, you should listen to her." Ning Shu's face didn't change. She took out a bottle of beautiful perfume from the suitcase and said, "Help me. I'll give you this bottle of branded perfume." Zhang Xiaomei quickly snatched the perfume bottle from Ning Shu's hand. She opened the lid and sniffed. Then, she closed the lid and held it tightly in her hand. She didn't want to return it to Ning Shu. "But Mom asked you to do it." Zhang Xiaomei's expression was a little hesitant. Ning Shu took out a bottle of nail polish. "This is for you. I'll also give you a set of cosmetics. I treasure these things. If it wasn't for the fact that I'm not feeling well, I wouldn't be willing to give them to you." "Okay, I'll help you." Zhang Xiaomei took all these things and hurried out of Ning Shu's room. Ning Shu locked the door and stuffed the clothes into the suitcase. She wouldn't wait for Zhang Jiasan to pick her up. Leaving his new wife in the countryside and going back to work alone? This meant that Zhang Jiasan didn't want to stay with Miao Miao. "Xiaomei, why are you feeding the pig? Where's your sister-in-law?" Zhang Jiasan's mother's voice resounded in the courtyard. Her voice was very loud. She probably purposely let Ning Shu hear her. Zhang Xiaomei said, "Sister Miao wasn't feeling well, so I did it for her. Mom, Sister Miao gave me some things and asked me to do it for her." City people are so delicate. They look fine, but they only know how to be lazy. Zhang Jiasan's mother muttered. She probably saw that Ning Shu gave Zhang Xiaomei a lot of things, so she didn't find trouble with Ning Shu. Ning Shu stayed in the house until Zhang Jiasan's parents went to work. Zhang Xiaomei went to cut the pigweed. There was also a brother-in-law who stayed in the house playing with his phone and didn't care about anything. Ning Shu wrote a note saying that he had returned home and didn't want to look for her. Then, he took his suitcase and quietly left. He waited for the bus on the road in the village and left after buying the ticket. Actually, it was quite suffocating to stay in that house. Zhang Jiasan didn't think that Miao would be afraid in an unfamiliar environment and wouldn't be able to adapt. The bus was very bumpy. Ning Shu almost vomited from the bumpy ride. In addition, he didn't eat anything in the morning. He was a little flustered and chanted the clear heart mantra in his heart. Chapter 437. After a bumpy journey, Ning Shu finally arrived at the train station. When she dragged her suitcase down, a man walked over and took the suitcase from her hands. Ning Shu looked at the man. He was wearing a black woolen coat and a gray scarf. The scarf hung down to his knees, making him look even taller and more upright. Looking at this man, Ning Shu felt an indescribable emotion in her heart. There was hatred and disappointment. A fair face with a talented appearance. This was Zhang Jiasun. Zhang Jiasun looked pretty good. Otherwise, Miao 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 wouldn't have been mesmerized. When he bent down to take the suitcase, she could smell a fresh scent coming from him. This was a clean man, but his thoughts were unfathomable. Ning Shu forced a smile and said, "You're here to pick me up." Zhang Jiasun's gaze swept past Ning Shu as he knitted his brows. His tone was filled with reproach. "Why did you suddenly leave home? Everyone was looking for you, and it was little sister who called me. I guess that you must have returned, so I came here to pick you up." Ning Shu smiled and said, "Didn't I leave a note? Your parents aren't literate, and they can't understand the note you left. How can you be so willful like a child?" Zhang Jiasun seemed to be pampering, but he was actually reproaching Ning Shu for being willful. Ning Shu brushed her hair that was messed up by the cold wind and faintly said, "Your parents aren't literate, but little sister is. At the very least, there's still brother-in-law. Both of them are literate." Zhang Jiasun narrowed his eyes as he placed the suitcase in the trunk. Ning Shu sat in the front passenger seat while Zhang Jiasun drove. From time to time, he would sweep a glance at Ning Shu. Ning Shu ignored Zhang Jiasun's gaze as she looked out of the car and pondered in her heart. The first time she saw Zhang Jiasun, Ning Shu knew that he was a difficult person to deal with. No wonder he reached the peak of his life. Miao 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 was just a stepping stone for him. He was ruthless to himself and others. Ning Shu sneered in his heart. "Are you not feeling well?" Zhang Jiasun saw that Ning Shu did not speak. He frowned and asked, "Are you not feeling well?" When Zhang Jiasun frowned, it was especially charming. Coupled with his deep voice, it was easy for people to sink into it. "I'm fine. I didn't eat anything in the morning, so I'm hungry," Ning Shu said lightly. Zhang Jiasun's face stiffened for a moment, but soon returned to normal. He said, "The things in the countryside are not as exquisite as those in the city. You definitely won't be used to it." Ning Shu nodded. "I'm not used to it. I've been constipated recently." Zhang Jiasun was speechless. Ning Shu leaned his head against the car seat and closed his eyes. "Let's go back to my house first. I need to take a nap." Zhang Jiasun's face was expressionless as he stepped on the accelerator. When they reached home, Zhang Jiasun stopped the car and turned around to unbuckle Ning Shu's seatbelt. Ning Shu opened her eyes and saw Zhang Jiasun in front of her. Ning Shu reached out to push him and asked, "What are you doing?" Zhang Jiasun's face had a helpless expression. "We're home. I'll unbuckle your seatbelt for you." Ning Shu nodded. He opened the door and got out of the car. He walked into the villa. Zhang Jiasun followed Ning Shu and reached out to hold her hand. Ning Shu reflexively shook off Zhang Jiasun's hand. Zhang Jiasun was not angry. He frowned and looked at Ning Shu. He said with certainty, "You're angry." Ning Shu smiled like the original owner. "How can I be angry with you?" Zhang Jiasun wanted to say something, but Ning Shu had already entered the house. Zhang Jiasun helplessly followed. Ning Shu called out to Mother Miao, who was arranging flowers in the living room. Mother Miao was stunned for a moment. When she saw Ning Shu, she dropped the flowers in her hand and walked over to hug Ning Shu. Then she looked at Ning Shu from head to toe. "Well, you've lost weight and become tanned. How did you end up in such a mess?" Mother Miao's voice was filled with distress. "You should have come back long ago." Mother Miao was a middle-aged woman who had taken good care of herself. However, she was only in her 30s and looked very young. "Mom, I missed you so much." Ning Shu hugged Mother Miao tightly. When this body hugged Mother Miao, it couldn't help but tremble. Clearly, it was the original owner's emotions. "It's good that you're back." Mother Miao immediately went to call Father Miao. Ning Shu went upstairs to take a shower. There was no way to take a shower in the countryside. Even the toilets were leaky. Besides, it was so cold. She would freeze to death if she took a shower. Ning Shu happily took a shower. When he came out, he saw Zhang Jiasun sitting on the sofa, reading a book in his hand. Seeing Ning Shu come out, Zhang Jiasun put down the book in his hand and smiled at Ning Shu. Zhang Jiasun was a person who didn't smile much, but his smile was stunning. Ning Shu looked at Zhang Jiasan's smiling face indifferently. Zhang Jiasan frowned and walked in front of Ning Shu. He stretched out his long arms and hugged Ning Shu. His chin was on Ning Shu's head, and he reached out to touch Ning Shu's hair. In a low voice, he said, "Don't be angry. You don't look good with a frown on your face. You said you were going to pick me up. Why didn't you come to pick me up?" Ning Shu raised his head and asked, "I've been waiting for you to pick me up in the countryside." Zhang Jiasan breathed a sigh of relief and smiled. He touched Ning Shu's head. "You're talking about this? The company has been a little busy recently. If you didn't come back, I was going to pick you up in a few days." "Ha!" Ning Shu gave Zhang Jiasan a fake smile. "You little girl." Zhang Jiasan's expression was very helpless. His helplessness was mixed with doting. This guy was definitely an award-winning actor. "Meow Meow, you're back. Come down and let Dad have a look." Meow Meow's father's voice came from downstairs. Ning Shu pushed Zhang Jiasan's hand away from his head and turned to go downstairs. Zhang Jiasan lowered his head and looked at his hand. His eyes were deep and strange. Then he clenched his fists tightly. Then he followed him downstairs. Ning Shu hugged Meow Meow's father. Meow Meow's father was a fat man with a bald head. No wonder he had a cerebral hemorrhage in the movie. "Dad, you should lose weight. It's not good for your health to be too fat." Ning Shu did not want Meow Meow's father to die so soon. Ning Shu was very suspicious of Meow Meow's father's death. Especially Meow Meow's mother. A year after Meow Meow's father's death, she died just like that. Meow Meow was also diagnosed with mental illness. Ning Shu even suspected that Zhang Jiasan had contributed to it. However, Meow 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 had always been a naive girl. It was not easy for her to realize that she had been deceived by Zhang Jiasan before she died. Therefore, there were some things that Ning Shu had to verify himself. Okay, I'll listen to your daughter." Meow Meow's father touched his head and said with a smile. Then he saw Zhang Jiasan coming downstairs and said, "You're here too." Zhang Jiasan was very respectful to Meow Meow's father. Ning Shu looked at Zhang Jiasan. Even if Meow Meow's father was dissatisfied with Zhang Jiasan's family background, Zhang Jiasan did not complain. Instead, he was respectful to Meow Meow's father. This was a man who could endure. Chapter 438. Zhang Jiasan was undoubtedly a phoenix man, a golden phoenix that flew out of the mountain, a phoenix that could only bring hope to the family. Zhang Jiasan was smart, hardworking, tenacious, and had a strong sense of responsibility. He was so strong that he was responsible for the happiness of everyone in the Zhang family. After he succeeded, he would provide for everyone in the Zhang family. A phoenix man had a large group of family members that needed to be supported, but Zhang Jiasan didn't fulfill his responsibility to Meow Meow Meow. The Meow family was a springboard for Zhang Jiasan to success. Zhang Jiasan could endure the disdain of the Meow couple for him. He could endure what ordinary people couldn't, but these were all remembered in his heart. He was sensitive, proud, and inferior. Mother Meow's heart ached for her daughter who went to the mountains to suffer. She prepared a sumptuous dinner and even cooked it herself. Looking at the table full of dishes, Ning Shu's saliva was about to drip down. The food in the countryside was indeed not good. It was simply torturing his stomach. Ning Shu was very satisfied with the clean and delicious food. The couple kept putting food in Ning Shu's bowl. Even Zhang Jiasan put food in Ning Shu's bowl and said, "Eat more." Ning Shu turned to look at Zhang Jiasan. His eyes were very deep. He smiled and said, "Thank you." He sneered in his heart. If he really cared about her, why did he leave her in the countryside and not care about her? He didn't even call her. Meow 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 couldn't adapt to that kind of life. Meow 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 had never lived that kind of life. Zhang Jiasan knew that. Ning Shu was full and didn't eat anymore. After seeing Ning Shu put down his chopsticks, Zhang Jiasan also put down his chopsticks. Ning Shu could see that Zhang Jiasan didn't have much of an appetite. The Meow couple probably made him uncomfortable. After dinner, Ning Shu sat on the sofa and watched TV. Zhang Jiasan sat beside Ning Shu and quietly accompanied Ning Shu. This man, Ning Shu, chatted with the Meow couple the whole time, ignoring Zhang Jiasan. Zhang Jiasen didn't say anything and just stared at Ning Shu. It was hard to tell if he was angry or not. However, Ning Shu finally saw how much the Miao couple doted on him. Basically, they would grant his every request. He was like a treasure in their hands. Perhaps the heavens were fair. It was impossible for a person's life to be so blissful. Zhang Jiasen's appearance ended Miao Miao Miao's happiness and destroyed Miao Miao Miao's life. Miao 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 lost everything and died at a young age. Miao 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 paid the price for the only time in her life and lost everything. During this period, Miao 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 did not give birth to a child. She was not even pregnant. "Mom, I'll sleep at home tonight," Ning Shu said to Mother Miao. "All right, we'll sleep at home," Mother Miao said without hesitation. Zhang Jiasen wanted to say something but hesitated. "Jiasen, let Miao Miao stay at home today," Mother Miao said to Zhang Jiasen. Zhang Jiasen nodded. "I'll listen to you." Zhang Jiasen was about to leave. Zhang Jiasen looked at Ning Shu. Ning Shu stood up and walked Zhang Jiasen out. Ning Shu looked at Zhang Jiasen, who was walking in front of him, and narrowed his eyes slightly. Zhang Jiasen opened the car door and looked at Ning Shu. He smiled and said, "I'll come back tomorrow." Zhang Jiasen then reached out and placed his hand on Ning Shu's head. "Wait for me." Ning Shu nodded. Ning Shu watched Zhang Jiasen's car disappear from his sight before he turned around and went back into the house. "You really don't remember your father now that you have a husband?" Miao Miao's father looked at Ning Shu with a resentful gaze. Ning Shu's face stiffened. He said, "Dad, I have something important to tell you." Miao Miao's father also became serious. He straightened his belly and looked like a coal boss. "What is it?" "There's nothing your father can't solve." Ning Shu pulled Miao Miao's father into the study and said, "Dad, I want to work in the company." Miao Miao's father was a little surprised. "Why do you suddenly want to work in the company?" Miao Miao's father thought that his daughter wanted to work in the company with Zhang Jiai, so he said, "Why don't you be Zhang Jiai's secretary?" "Ning Shu, the position of general manager is still vacant. I want to be the general manager." Ning Shu looked very serious. Miao Miao's father patted Ning Shu's shoulder. "Managing the company is not a small matter. Don't mess around." "I'm serious. I'll take the position tomorrow. If it doesn't work out, I'll resign." Ning Shu grabbed Miao Miao's father's arm and said coquettishly, "Dad, let me try. I want to manage the company. But if it doesn't work out, you can resign." Miao Miao's father was completely perfunctory to Ning Shu. Obviously, he didn't think that his daughter had the ability. The next day, Ning Shu went downstairs in a smart suit. Miao Miao's father looked at Ning Shu and nodded. "Well, you look good." Ning Shu smiled. Gong Luo's company was much bigger than Miao Miao's father's company in the last world. After breakfast, Ning Shu got into Miao Miao's father's car and went to the company. "Daughter, don't be nervous. Dad will support you if anything happens." Miao Miao's father comforted Ning Shu. However, his forehead was sweating, and he kept wiping it with a handkerchief. Ning Shu looked at Miao Miao's father, who had a big belly. She took the handkerchief in his hand and wiped the sweat on his face. She said, "Dad, from tomorrow onwards, you have to control your diet. I'll ask the nutritionist to prepare a menu for you. You can't be like this." Miao Miao's father didn't know whether to be grateful that his daughter cared about him or to force himself to eat in peace. When they arrived at the company, Ning Shu tidied up his clothes and flattened his collar before getting out of the car. Ning Shu followed behind Miao Miao's father without looking sideways. Miao Miao's father's company wasn't very big. It could only be considered a medium-sized company. Its performance was fixed and it seemed to be in a bottleneck. However, after Zhang Jiasen took over, the company gradually became bigger and stronger. Miao Miao's father informed the executives of all the departments to come over for a meeting and publicly announced that Ning Shu would be the general manager. "Miao Miao, it's okay to back out now." Miao Miao's father said, "Managing a company is not a joke." Ning Shu looked at Miao Miao's father seriously. "Dad, this company is your blood and sweat. I want to inherit it. Even if I don't know how to manage it now, I can learn. It's impossible that I won't be able to learn forever." Miao Miao's father was stunned for a moment. Tears suddenly appeared in his eyes. He wiped them with a handkerchief and said, "Okay, my daughter, it's good that you have this kind of heart. Let's learn slowly. Eventually you will learn. Zhang Jiasun is a talent. You and he are husband and wife. You can ask him to teach you. However, there are some things that you can't tell him completely." Miao Miao's father warned Ning Shu. Ning Shu nodded. People from all the departments came one after another. Zhang Jiasun also came. Zhang Jiasun was a little surprised when he saw Ning Shu, who was wearing a black suit with her hair tied up. Miao 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 now looked very capable and neat. It was very different from her usual delicate appearance. Ning Shu turned to look at Zhang Jiasun. Behind him was a secretary who was holding a folder. This secretary had delicate features and wore black-rimmed glasses. In the plot, this woman was holding Zhang Jiasun's arm and was seen by Miao Miao Miao. Miao Miao Miao, who was crossing the road, was hit by a car and died. Chapter 439. Boss and Secretary? What kind of special relationship did Zhang Jiasun have with this secretary? There was a need to investigate. Zhang Jiasun had the ambition to crawl at night, but he shouldn't have trampled on Miao 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 like this. Miao 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 lived a simple life and didn't know anything. Ning Shu smiled indifferently. It wasn't easy to succeed, but he returned to the time when he had nothing. He wondered if Zhang Jiasun would be so uncomfortable that he went crazy. Zhang Jiasun narrowed his eyes and walked to Ning Shu. He asked calmly, "Miao Miao, why are you here?" Ning Shu looked into Zhang Jiasun's eyes and smiled. "I'm going to work in the company. Are you happy to work with you every day?" Zhang Jiasun's face flashed with a trace of astonishment. He looked at Ning Shu's face and seemed to think of something. A trace of hostility flashed in his eyes and disappeared. He showed a doting smile on his face. "Of course." Ning Shu also smiled. "That's great." Ning Shu looked at the secretary behind Zhang Jiasun. Her face was stiff and her expression was a little strange. When she met Ning Shu's eyes, she immediately lowered her eyes. Zhang Jiasun didn't say anything. He sat down in his seat and tapped his finger on the table. His side profile was as cold as iron. Zhang Jiasun now had the aura of a high-ranking person. He had the temperament of a successful person. No one could ignore him sitting there. When everyone arrived, Miao Miao Miao's father directly announced, "This is my daughter, Miao Miao Miao. From today onwards, she will be the general manager." Everyone looked at each other. No one in the conference room spoke. Zhang Jiasun's hand trembled. His sharp eyes swept across Ning Shu's face. Ning Shu said, "Hello everyone, I'm Miao Miao Miao. From today onwards, I will be the general manager. My goal is to manage the company better with everyone." Ning Shu said some high-sounding words. She would definitely be the general manager. Miao Miao Miao's father's company wasn't very big and wasn't listed. Naturally, there was no board of directors to speak. To put it bluntly, this company belonged to Miao Miao Miao's father. Miao Miao Miao's father had absolute power. Zhang Jiasun was the first to stand up and applaud. He said, "I believe that Miao Miao can do it well." When the others saw Zhang Jiasun clapping, they followed suit. Ning Shu narrowed his eyes and looked at this scene. He felt that something was wrong. He didn't expect Zhang Jiasun to be so prestigious in the company. The senior executives of several departments looked at Zhang Jiasun as their leader. This further illustrated Zhang Jiasun's ambition. Previously, Ning Shu had wanted to directly take Zhang Jiasun away, but now it seemed that this method was very risky. Moreover, she and Zhang Jiasun were still husband and wife. She didn't chase Zhang Jiasun away. Instead, Zhang Jiasun would remove her from the position of general manager. He could only take it slowly. Ning Shu's eyes swept over these people's hands one by one, and finally stopped on Zhang Jiasun's face. Meeting Zhang Jiasun's eyes, Ning Shu smiled at him. Zhang Jiasun also smiled at Ning Shu and clapped unhurriedly. Ning Shu's smile grew even wider. Fighting against the heavens and fighting against people was a source of endless joy. After the meeting, Zhang Jiasun turned and walked out of the conference room. The secretary glanced at Ning Shu and chased after Zhang Jiasun. Ning Shu didn't care about Zhang Jiasun and the secretary. The most important thing now was to secure the position of general manager. Father Miao took Ning Shu to the general manager's office. Ning Shu ran his fingers across the desk and said to Father Miao, "Dad, I like this office very much. It will be mine from now on. No one else can think about it." Father Miao laughed a little. He thought that Ning Shu was just being petty. Zhang Jiasen quickly walked back to his office. He walked so fast that the secretary behind him couldn't keep up. The secretary locked the office door and said to Zhang Jiasen, who was sitting on the sofa, "Jiasen, didn't the chairman leave the position of general manager to you? Why did Miao 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 come to work? She doesn't know anything." Zhang Jiasen rubbed his eyebrows and pursed his lips. "She won't last long. She's not cut out for that." The secretary said again, "Maybe she wants to work with you." When the secretary said this, her tone was a little sour. Zhang Jiasen took a deep breath and said to the secretary, "You should know how I feel about you and Miao Miao Miao." Seeing that Zhang Jiasen was unhappy, the secretary wanted to comfort him. "Jiasen, it's okay. You're the most capable person I've ever met." Zhang Jiasen thought for a while and dialed home. His mother picked up the phone. Zhang Jiasen asked directly, "Mom, how was Miao Miao at home recently? How else could she be? She was just doing what a daughter-in-law should do," Zhang Jiasen's mother said indifferently. Her voice was a little loud, and the secretary beside her heard it. When Zhang Jiasen heard that his mother made Miao 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 do all kinds of rough work and even made Miao 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 cut pigweed, Zhang Jiasen's eyebrows twitched. He couldn't help but say, "Mom, how can you make her do these kinds of things? She can't do it." Zhang Jiasen's mother immediately raised her voice. "Why can't she do it? As a daughter-in-law, shouldn't she do it? Other daughters-in-law are like this. Why can't she do it? Since she married you, she's a member of the Zhang family. Why can't she do it? Did she complain to you?" Zhang Jiasen rubbed his forehead. When he heard about the food at home, Zhang Jiasen said helplessly, "You and Dad aren't young anymore. Eat something good. Don't treat your body badly." Zhang Jiasen's mother immediately smiled. She was very happy with Zhang Jiasen's concern. She told Zhang Jiasen to take good care of himself. In any case, she didn't mention Ning Shu, her daughter-in-law. Zhang Jiasen hung up the phone. He finally knew that Miao 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 had been acting weird since she came back. She was obviously angry. On the first day of work, Miao Miao Miao's father brought Ning Shu to familiarize herself with the various departments. He also brought Ning Shu to visit the garment factory. Along the way, Ning Shu kept taking notes in her notebook. She also saw some problems. For example, the materials used to make clothes were seriously wasted. Also, the employees didn't seem to have any rules and were very lazy. She had to come up with a set of rules and regulations. Ning Shu believed that Zhang Jiasen definitely saw through these problems. However, he didn't say anything and just left it hanging. It was as if he wanted to wait until the company was completely under his control. In the storyline, Zhang Jiasen did indeed expand the company and even got it listed. However, at that time, Miao 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 was in a daze and didn't know anything. After a day of walking, Ning Shu's legs were a little sore. For the rest of the time, Ning Shu checked the company's various information and accounts to understand the company's supply channels and sales channels. She had to understand the company as fast as possible to protect Miao Miao Miao's father's hard work. Ning Shu raised her wrist and looked at her watch. It was time to get off work. However, Ning Shu decided to stay up late to read these information. At this moment, there was a knock on the door. Ning Shu was a little surprised. This was because no one came to the general manager's office for the whole day. They didn't look for Ning Shu for anything. It was as if they treated her as a vase. Chapter 440. It was the first time someone came to her office. Ning Shu straightened her face and said, "Come in." The person who came in was holding a bouquet of flowers that covered his face. Ning Shu knew who it was when she saw the man in a suit. "For my wife." Zhang Jiasen walked to Ning Shu and handed a bouquet of red roses to Ning Shu. Ning Shu took the red rose and smelled it with a smile on her face. Zhang Jiasen looked at the documents piled high on the table. His eyes flashed and said, "You're still reading the documents. It's time to get off work." Ning Shu said, Yes, I can't understand some of them, so it's more time-consuming. By the way, why did you think of sending me flowers? Ning Shu changed the topic and said with a smile, I'm flattered. Ning Shu put the bouquet on the table and didn't look at it again. Zhang Jiasan asked, Meow meow, don't you like it? This was the first time Zhang Jiasan sent flowers. Meow 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 knew that Zhang Jiasan's family condition wasn't good, so she never let Zhang Jiasan give her gifts. Even if Zhang Jiasan wanted to buy, Meow 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 wouldn't allow it. When they were dating, Zhang Jiasan was just an ordinary employee. Most of his salary had to be sent home. Meow 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 felt sorry for Zhang Jiasan. So far, the only thing Zhang Jiasan gave Meow 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 was a wedding ring. Every time Zhang Jiasan wanted to buy a gift, he would buy it in front of Meow Meow Meow. Ning Shu smiled in her heart. If he really wanted to buy a gift, he couldn't buy it secretly. Would Meow 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 return the gift? Meow 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 was a girl from a rich family. She wouldn't do such a thing. Zhang Jiasan looked at Ning Shu's indifferent expression and couldn't help but ask, Meow Meow, you don't like roses? Ning Shu nodded. I don't like red roses. I like tulips. The language of tulips is noble and pure love. Zhang Jiasan's face stiffened for a moment. He didn't seem to understand the meaning behind Ning Shu's words. He reached out and grabbed Ning Shu's hand. He looked at Ning Shu and said, You're angry, right? Ning Shu tilted his head and looked at Zhang Jiasan without saying a word. He withdrew his hand without a trace. Zhang Jiasan's hand was very cold. My parents are farmers from the countryside. In order to send me to college, they spent all their money. Sometimes, they are overly frugal and can't bear to spend money on food and clothes. Zhang Jiasan frowned. I apologize on behalf of my parents. Ning Shu shook his head. I don't blame them. To be honest, I only know how blessed I am when I see them living such a hard life. That's why I'm determined to manage the company well. Ning Shu deliberately said this to disgust people. Zhang Jiasan's eyes flashed with a trace of fierceness. He stretched out his hand to hold Ning Shu's shoulder and said with a smile, It's time to get off work. I'm here to take my wife home. Ning Shu smiled and picked up his bag. Zhang Jiasan also smiled. These two people looked like a loving couple, but each had their own thoughts. Ning Shu and Zhang Jiasan walked side by side. When they reached the company's lobby, they saw the secretary with black-rimmed glasses waiting at the front desk. Ning Shu carefully looked at the secretary. Could this be Zhang Jiasan's true love? In fact, she wasn't as beautiful as Meow Meow Meow. Manager, there's an urgent document that needs your signature. The secretary said to Zhang Jiasan. Her voice was trembling. Zhang Jiasan pursed his lips and quickly walked over. He opened the document and glanced at the secretary. The secretary lowered her head and didn't speak. Zhang Jiasan signed it. Ning Shu walked over and asked, What document? Let me see. I'm the company's general manager. Zhang Jiasan quickly closed the folder and said, Actually, it's not a big deal. If it's not a big deal, then why is your secretary in such a hurry? Ning Shu raised his eyebrows. The so-called document was just a piece of white paper. It was difficult for Zhang Jiasan to seriously sign his name on a piece of white paper. Let's go. We don't talk about work after work. Zhang Jiasan held Ning Shu's hand and walked away. Ning Shu turned around and looked at the secretary. She was holding the document and standing at the front desk. She kept staring at Zhang Jiasan's back. Ning Shu turned around and glanced at Zhang Jiasan. All kinds of thoughts flashed through his mind. After getting in the car, Ning Shu said directly, Let's go back to my parents' house. My suitcase is at home. Zhang Jiasan pursed his lips and said, Okay. When they got home, Mother Miao immediately greeted Ning Shu. She asked if Ning Shu was hard at work, if anyone bullied him, and all kinds of other questions. Ning Shu answered all of them. Mother Miao brought a bowl of soup to Ning Shu. She said it was soup for Ning Shu and forced Ning Shu to drink it. Mother Miao then gave Zhang Jiasan a bowl of soup. Zhang Jiasan thanked her very politely. After drinking it, he even praised Mother Miao for making good soup. This made Mother Miao very happy. However, Ning Shu could tell that Zhang Jiasan had something on his mind. He was in a daze. Ning Shu guessed that it was about the secretary. Jiasan, I want to stay at home for a while. I have some things to ask Dad, Ning Shu said to Zhang Jiasun. Zhang Jiasun paused for a moment and said, Okay, then I'll go back first. Ning Shu nodded. Zhang Jiasun took his jacket and left. Ning Shu just looked at Zhang Jiasun's back coldly. Why did Jiasun leave? Your husband and wife. What's wrong with him staying? It's not like you're not married. Mother Miao poked Ning Shu's forehead. Why didn't you ask him to stay? Right. I have something to tell Jiasun, Ning Shu said to Mother Miao. He took the car keys and went to the garage to start the car. Ning Shu went out. However, he wasn't going to find Zhang Jiasun. Instead, he went to the detective agency. Ning Shu directly said to the person in charge of the agency, I want you to help me investigate my husband, Zhang Jiasun, and his secretary. Ning Shu pushed Zhang Jiasun's photo to the person in charge. This is Zhang Jiasun. Here's the deposit. I'll let you know if I have any news. The person in charge took the photo and the money. Ning Shu left the detective agency and went to the Chinese medicine shop to get some herbs. Then he drove home. As for whether Zhang Jiasun went to find his secretary, Ning Shu didn't care at all. These herbs were prepared for Father Miao. Father Miao was too fat and had high blood lipids. His body was in a serious state of subhealth. After the cerebral hemorrhage, he never woke up. When he got home, Ning Shu decocted the herbs. In fact, it wasn't really Chinese medicine. It was just a medicinal diet. It could slowly heal Father Miao's body. Father Miao looked at the food his daughter made for him and was very touched. He was very happy to be able to eat food made by his daughter. Dad, you have to eat this every day in the future. You have to eat more vegetables and fruits and drink more water. You can't eat too much fish and meat anymore. Especially, you can't drink alcohol. Ning Shu counted on his fingers and said, You should cultivate your body and mind. Father Miao laughed. You're really my caring little girl. I'll listen to you in the future. Father Miao was in his 50s. However, in the plot, he suddenly had a cerebral hemorrhage and died quickly. He didn't even wake up once. The doctor said that Father Miao's head was severely bleeding and many blood vessels burst. Chapter 441. Ning Shu still had doubts about Father Miao and Mother Miao's death. If it was really Zhang Jiasun, then Zhang Jiasun was more ruthless than she imagined. She had to be prepared for both sides. After dinner, Ning Shu asked Father Miao about some things. She learned about the people in the various departments and the middle-level and high-level employees of the company. Seeing that his daughter was so motivated, Father Miao told Ning Shu about the personnel of the company, including the employees who had followed him all the way to the company. Father Miao also fought for this company. In his words, he could only maintain the current state. It was difficult for him to go up. Sometimes, Father Miao even felt powerless. Seeing Ning Shu's serious look, Father Miao wanted to hand the company over to Ning Shu. Originally, he wanted Miao Miao to give birth to a child with the surname Miao and let the Miao family have a descendant who could inherit the Miao family. Now that he saw that his ignorant daughter was willing to learn to manage the company, it was more practical to teach his daughter than to look forward to the child who had no shadow. Miao Ying's father taught Ning Shu everything he knew. He talked endlessly about the times when he started his business. When he talked about the hardships of starting a business, Ning Shu felt very upset. This was the feeling of the original owner. Her father's hard work was taken away by Zhang Jiasun. Not only did Zhang Jiasun cheat her of her feelings, but he also took away her father's company. Ning Shu didn't know if Zhang Jiasun had a plan to get close to the original owner, or if he was ambitious because he was promoted step by step in the company. However, based on Zhang Jiasun's attitude towards the original owner, Ning Shu guessed that Zhang Jiasun must have a plan. Ning Shu used the darkest thoughts to guess Zhang Jiasun. The original owner was stupid. She didn't even know if her man loved her or not. All kinds of thoughts flashed through Ning Shu's mind. She kept recording the important information that Father Miao said. Ning Shu went back to her room to rest until midnight. It was already midnight. Ning Shu took out her phone and called Zhang Jiasun. What was Zhang Jiasun doing now? The phone rang for a while before it was hung up. Ning Shu smiled and called again. It also rang for a while before it was hung up. Ning Shu smiled and called her again. This time, her phone was turned off. Oh, Ning Shu guessed that Zhang Jiasun was having sex with a woman. Her phone call had disturbed Zhang Jiasun. The next morning, Ning Shu went to Zhang Jiasun's office as soon as he arrived at the company. Zhang Jiasun was talking to his secretary. Ning Shu asked Zhang Jiasun directly, "Why did you hang up on me?" Zhang Jiasun was stunned at first. He glanced at the secretary and then said to Ning Shu, "I thought it was a harassing call, so I hung up. After a day of work, I need to go home and have a good rest. Naturally, I turned off my phone. Was there no caller ID?" Ning Shu nodded and accepted this flawed reason. Instead, he looked at Zhang Jiasun's secretary and said with a smile, "Miss Secretary, you look much prettier today than yesterday. Nice lipstick." Ning Shu nodded and praised. He then said to Zhang Jiasun, "Introduce your secretary." "There's nothing to introduce. She's just a secretary. You can call her Secretary Xue." Zhang Jiasun said indifferently. Ning Shu nodded. Seeing Secretary Xue's face dim, Ning Shu smiled inwardly. "By the way, Dad said that I'll be in charge of the factory. In the future, I might have to spend a lot of time in the factory," Ning Shu said to Zhang Jiasun. Hearing this, even with Zhang Jiasun's composure, his face couldn't help but change. The most important part of a company was the factory. Designers basically stayed in the factory. A company's strength was in the factory. It was also the place where oil and water were most easily produced. Zhang Jiasun immediately calmed down. He said to Ning Shu with some worry, "Can you handle such a big factory? Plus, you've never managed this before. I'm afraid it'll be a bit difficult." "It's okay. Dad will help me," Ning Shu said with a smile. Seeing the gloominess between Zhang Jiasun's eyebrows, Ning Shu smiled even brighter. Zhang Jiasun's hands behind his back were clenched into fists. The veins on the back of his hands were popping. He smiled at Ning Shu and said, "My little wife is amazing. You can come to me if you need anything." Ning Shu smiled and nodded. Although he felt disgusted, he still had to maintain a smile. Ning Shu walked in front of Secretary Xue and reached out to take off her eyes. He found that Secretary Xue's eye makeup was very beautiful. Her eyes were black and bright, with a pitiful feeling. Secretary Xue was shocked by Ning Shu's action. She took a step back. Zhang Jiasun almost couldn't hold it in. Fortunately, he controlled himself and didn't take a step forward. "Secretary Xue, you're so beautiful. You even covered your beautiful eyes with glasses. You should wear contact lenses." Ning Shu stuffed the glasses into Secretary Xue's hands. Secretary Xue quickly put them on and said, "My eyes are allergic to contact lenses." "I see." Ning Shu smiled faintly. He then turned around and walked away. After Ning Shu left, Secretary Xue let out a long breath. She turned around and said to Zhang Jiasun, "Do you think Miao 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 knows something?" "Impossible. She doesn't have that brain," Zhang Jiasun said faintly. He glanced at Secretary Xue. "Don't get too close to me in the company." Secretary Xue bit her lips. She looked a little wronged. Man, bear with it. I'm also enduring it," Zhang Jiasun said. Ning Shu received a call from the person in charge of the detective agency. He said that there was a result. Soon, Ning Shu arrived at the agreed coffee shop. The person in charge gave Ning Shu a folder. Ning Shu opened the folder. There were many photos inside. They were all of Zhang Jiasun and Secretary Xue. They were either holding hands or hugging each other. However, these photos were taken at night and weren't very clear. Ning Shu said, "Some are not very clear. It's not easy for us to take these photos. We can't see any intimate actions between the two during the day." The person in charge looked at Ning Shu. "Your husband is very vigilant." Zhang Jiasun's intelligence was unquestionable. She could take these photos because Zhang Jiasun wasn't vigilant against her. He thought she was an ignorant fool. Ning Shu noticed the background of the photos. He squinted and said, That's right. This is Tangchen residence. Zhang Jiasun has a house here. Xue Man usually lives here," the person in charge said. Ning Shu's expression was indifferent. Tangchen residence was worth a lot of money. Ning Shu asked. Under whose name? Zhang Jiasen. Ning Shu's pupils constricted. How could Zhang Jiasen have the money to buy a house that cost more than 5 million? A deputy general manager's salary wasn't enough to support him to buy such an expensive house. Are you sure? Ning Shu asked. Can you help me get a copy of the property certificate? This is a little difficult. The person in charge shook his head. Money isn't a problem, Ning Shu said. Chapter 442. I just want to know how many names are on the property certificate, Ning Shu said. She was very curious if Shui Manman's name was on the certificate. I'll find a way to get you a copy of the certificate. The person took Ning Shu's money. Ning Shu put the photos in the file and said, Tell me about Shui Manman's background. The person looked at Ning Shu and said, Zhang Jiasen and Shui Manman were a couple in college. They seemed to have broken up after graduation. Later, Zhang Jiasen married you. Not long after you got married, Shui Manman became Zhang Jiasen's secretary. Broke up? That means the two of them might not have broken up at all? Ning Shu said, Help me investigate these things. If there was nothing fishy about it, Ning Shu would eat shit and leave his new wife in the countryside. Maybe he would be with Shui Manman. Maybe Shui Manman knew about this marriage scam plan and even participated in it. Okay, since I've taken your money, I'll do it for you. The person nodded and said, By the way, investigate Shui Manman's family background. Ning Shu said indifferently. The person nodded, Okay. You can't tell anyone that I've investigated Zhang Jiasen and Shui Manman. Ning Shu narrowed his eyes. Don't worry. We have professional ethics, the person in charge promised. Then he took the money Ning Shu gave him and left. Ning Shu took a sip of the bitter coffee, picked up the file and went to the bank to open a safe. He put the file in the safe. She and Zhang Jiasen were husband and wife. Zhang Jiasen might find these things at home. These were all evidence of Zhang Jiasen's crimes. With these things, Zhang Jiasen would be the wrong party in this marriage. Ning Shu wanted to check the company's accounts. Where did Zhang Jiasen get the money to buy the house? He transferred the property to his name without batting an eyelid. Zhang Jiasen was more than powerful. There must be something wrong with the accounts that allowed Zhang Jiasen to make so much money without being discovered. Back in the office, Ning Shu found Zhang Jiasen sitting on the sofa waiting for her. Seeing the well-dressed Zhang Jiasen, Ning Shu almost couldn't help but want to kick this guy. I'm so angry, but I still have to keep smiling. Ning Shu chanted the heart-cleansing mantra in his heart. Zhang Jiasen walked in front of Ning Shu and saw that Ning Shu's expression was not very good. He asked, What's wrong? You look like you've been wronged. Tell me and I'll help you vent your anger. Ning Shu, I'm fine. I'm just a little tired, so I went to the factory. Ning Shu rubbed his forehead and said, Zhang Jiasen had a faint smile on his face and said, Managing a company isn't something that can be done in a day or two. Take it slow. Ning Shu nodded and thought about it in his heart. It was easy to cheat the supply channels. Buttons, needles, scissors, rulers, these small things could all be falsified. There was also the equipment for making clothes. Ning Shu glanced at Zhang Jiasen and didn't intend to ask him anything. It was not good to act rashly and alert the enemy. This company was her father's. If there was anything, she could just ask Father Miao. It was too convenient for Father Miao to check the accounts. Why are you looking for me? Ning Shu asked Zhang Jiasen. Looking at the talented and calm Zhang Jiasen, she felt that it was a waste of his good looks. Inside, he was a greedy, selfish, unscrupulous, and even vicious man. Zhang Jiasen said with a bit of bitterness, Miao Miao, shouldn't you go home? I go home alone every day. Let's spend some time together. Keep pretending. Ning Shu nodded. I'll go back in a few days. I'll ask Father something in the next few days. Zhang Jiasen's eyes flashed with a dark light. Ning Shu asked, Miao Miao, do you really want to manage the company? Yes, after I came to your house, I never thought that there would be someone living such a poor life. I suddenly found that I'm living a happy life. In order to be happy forever, I have to work hard. This little bit of hardship is nothing. Ning Shu used this matter to disgust Zhang Jiasun again. Zhang Jiasun's face flashed with displeasure. He said in a pampering tone, "You are my little princess. Even if you don't do anything, I will still spoil you. You can also be happy forever." Ning Shu, wretch, she really wanted to vomit on this man's face. She didn't expect Zhang Jiasun to say such words. The plot didn't say such words. Obviously, Zhang Jiasun didn't want her to work in the company, especially when she occupied the position of general manager. Moreover, she was the heir of this company, the first in line. Although she wanted to vomit, she still had to maintain a smile. Ning Shu smiled at Zhang Jiasun and said, "I know you are very good to me." At this moment, there was a knock on the door. Then, Shui Man, who was dressed in a secretary's office wear, walked in. When Ning Shu saw Shui Man, she recalled that Shui Man lived in a luxurious house owned by Tang Qin. For a secretary to live in such a house, Shui Man must be Zhang Jiasun's mistress. Maybe it was love between them. "What's the matter?" Ning Shu asked, looking Shui Man up and down. Shui Man looked at Zhang Jiasun and said, "Manager, the head of the sales department is looking for you. She has something to tell you." Ning Shu raised his eyebrows. He suspected that this was true. Ning Shu realized that Shui Man always appeared when she was with Zhang Jiasun. Last time, she took a piece of paper for Zhang Jiasun to sign. This time, it was the head of the sales department. Ning Shu smiled and said, "It must be something important. As the general manager, I have to go take a look." Shui Man's face stiffened, and a trace of panic flashed across her face. Ning Shu sneered. As expected, it was really disgusting. "You have a lot of documents here. I'll go." Zhang Jiasun glanced at Shui Man and saw her panic. He rejected Ning Shu on the spot. "I'll go too. I can help with anything." Ning Shu got up from the leather chair. Zhang Jiasun reached out and pressed Ning Shu back into the chair. "You just read the documents obediently. I'll take care of these things." With that, Zhang Jiasun quickly walked out of the office. Shui Man hurriedly followed Zhang Jiasun. Ning Shu rolled her eyes. She suddenly realized that her eyes had seen through too many things. Now that she looked at the two of them, she felt that their acting was very clumsy. Perhaps it was because they knew the truth, but now that she saw that there were loopholes everywhere, or perhaps they felt that they were stupid. These two people were somewhat unscrupulous in front of her. The original owner, Meow, was a housewife. She didn't know about the company and didn't know that Shui Man was a secretary. She only knew about this person's existence before she died. Speaking of which, Meow's death was indirectly related to Zhang Jiasun and Shui Man. Ning Shu even suspected that Zhang Jiasun did it on purpose. He deliberately let Meow know about Shui Man's existence. At that time, the Meow couple was already dead. No one could suppress Zhang Jiasun. Moreover, Meow was found to be crazy. No one suspected anything. Chapter 443. Ning Shu didn't care about Zhang Jiasun and Shui Man. She spent most of her time in the factory and found that many of the cameras in the factory couldn't be used. Many of them were broken. Even if there were good cameras, the old employees in the factory could avoid them. Although it wasn't expensive, there were so many people in the factory. If everyone took one, it would be a lot of money. Ning Shu's expression didn't change. She took a sum of money from Meow's father and found a professional. After the employees got off work, they installed miniature cameras in the more important places in the factory, especially in the warehouse. Meow's father wondered why Ning Shu didn't take the money from the company's finance department. Of course, Ning Shu wouldn't say that Zhang Jiasun was watching the company. If she took the money from the finance department, Zhang Jiasun would definitely ask her what she was doing. Ning Shu didn't want Zhang Jiasun to know about this. Since she was going to manage the factory, she had to have the factory in her hands. Ning Shu asked Meow's father to check the accounts, especially the accounts for the last 2 years, especially after Zhang Jiasun was promoted. Tang Qinming's house was definitely embezzled by Zhang Jiasun from the company. Seeing that Ning Shu wanted to check the accounts, Meow's father disagreed and said, "No account book is absolutely clean. I put some money aside and treat it as giving some small favors to these people. If you have a guilty conscience, then work seriously. There's no need to check the accounts. Ning Shu shook her head and said, I'm not checking these small amounts. I'm just checking casually. Dad, help me. Miao's father didn't have the heart to dampen Ning Shu's enthusiasm. He asked his secretary to get the account book and told the finance department that he wanted to see the sales of the last 2 years. Ning Shu saw that Miao's father was willing to help and breathed a sigh of relief. Thinking of Tang Chiming's house, her heart was bleeding. How much money was that? It was all taken from the Miao family. The Miao family's company didn't make much profit in a year. After deducting all kinds of costs and labor, the profit was basically that much. These greedy sources of money were nothing more than fabricating goods when they were purchasing goods and raising the price when they were quoting prices. Ning Shu's disgust towards Zhang Jiasun grew bigger and bigger. He had cheated on Zhang Jiasun's marriage, cheated on Zhang Jiasun, and even had the guts to snatch away other people's things. He even felt that he had been wronged, and felt that it was not easy for him to endure the contempt of the Yu family. Ning Shu was looking at the designer's clothes in the factory office when he received a call from Zhang Jiasun. Ning Shu hung up without thinking. Then his phone rang again. Ning Shu hung up again. After hanging up, his phone rang again. This time, Ning Shu slowly picked up the call. Hello. Zhang Jiasun's voice came from the other end of the phone. Miao Miao, why did you hang up on me? Oh, it's your call. I thought it was some kind of harassment call. I'm busy, so I hung up. Ning Shu said lightly. Zhang Jiasun stopped talking about hanging up the phone. He took a deep breath and said, Miao Miao, come back first. There's something important at home. What's the matter? I'm a little busy. Ning Shu said and was about to hang up the phone. Miao Miao, can you come back first? Zhang Jiasun's voice was very gentle. Through the phone, it was even more charming. Ning Shu raised his eyebrows. What's the matter now? He said, I'll be back soon. The home Zhang Jiasun mentioned was the wedding house that the Miao couple bought for the young couple. It was a high-end community with a very good environment. Ning Shu drove back. When he arrived at the door, Ning Shu took out the key. When he opened the door, he saw a mess of shoes at the entrance. These shoes were also stained with mud. The house was also filled with the pungent smell of smoke. Ning Shu walked in. The living room was very lively. The Zhang couple was sitting on the sofa. Zhang Jiasun's father was smoking a pipe in his hand. The ashes fell on the sofa and formed a cloud of black ash. Zhang Jiasun's mother was eating the fruit on the coffee table. The fruit peels were thrown all over the coffee table. Zhang Xiaomei's eyes looked around and showed a satisfied look. As for Zhang Xiaomei's twin brother, he was hogging the computer and playing happily. Among them, there were 3 strangers that Ning Shu had never seen before. They looked like a family of 3. The woman was holding a 3- or 4-year-old girl in her arms. Her husband's eyes were impure. His eyes looked around the house and rubbed his hands from time to time. Ning Shu was speechless. Ning Shu's pupils shrank. He had a bad feeling in his heart. This house was quite big. It was close to 200 square meters. However, with so many people here, the house seemed very crowded. Miao Miao, you're back. Zhang Jiasun came out of the kitchen and looked at Ning Shu with a very gentle gaze. Ning Shu took a deep breath. As a result, his lungs were filled with the smell of smoke. Ning Shu couldn't help but choke. I don't know where the daughter-in-law went. Instead of staying at home, she let the man cook. Zhang Jiasun's mother acted like a mother-in-law. She was wearing dark clothes and had a dark face. She didn't fit in with the luxurious decorations of this house at all. Gidge. It made Zhang Jiasun's mother look rustic. However, she now straightened her back and tried to show the charm of a mother-in-law in front of Ning Shu. The woman holding the child pulled Zhang Jiasun's mother. Then, Ning Shu said, Sister-in-law. Miao Miao, this is my elder sister, Zhang Wenlan. Zhang Jiasun said to Ning Shu and pointed to the man next to Zhang Wenlan. This is my elder sister's husband, Tan Hiyu. Tan Hiyu showed a flattering smile to Ning Shu, revealing his big yellow teeth. Ning Shu shouted, Sister-in-law. Ning Shu looked away and looked at the big family. Then, he tilted his head and looked at Zhang Jiasen. What's the situation now? Not only the Zhang family, but also Zhang Jiasen's elder sister's family came. Zhang Jiasen stretched out his hand and pulled Ning Shu to the balcony. He seemed to be organizing his words. Ning Shu didn't speak. He sneered in his heart and glanced at the people in the house. He wanted to see what Zhang Jiasen would say. Meow meow, Dad and Mom come and live with us. Zhang Jiasen said, Dad and Mom have been working hard all their lives and have never enjoyed a day of happiness. In order to support me to go to college, they sold everything they had. My brother and sister also didn't have a good day. My elder sister also tried to help me. Meow meow, we are husband and wife. My parents are also your parents. Can you understand me? She didn't take a needle or a piece of thread from the Zhang family. She was not responsible for the Zhang family. Now, Zhang Jiasen wanted to use marriage to force this responsibility on her. This was like, you borrowed a lot of money before marriage. Once you got married, you asked your mother to help you pay back the money. What a slut. Ning Shu was about to explode. Zhang Jiasen really treated her as a fool. He really thought that she loved him and felt that she should listen to everything he said. Such a big family needed to be supported. Maybe there would be more people joining the family. What kind of relatives were they? Ning Shu chanted the mind-clearing mantra in her heart. I'm not angry at all. Chapter 444. Ning Shu looked at the people in the living room. With so many people, the living room became very messy. Moreover, the smoke from Zhang Jiasen's father's tobacco was very thick, and it lingered in the room for a long time. Zhang Jiasen's mother coughed and spat out a mouthful of phlegm onto the white floor tiles. Thinking of so many adults and children living here in the future, bathing and going to the toilet, just the thought of it made him tremble. Such a life was simply a disaster. These people nurtured Zhang Jiasen and they needed to repay them. Now that Zhang Jiasen was successful, it was time to repay them. And Zhang Jiasen took it all, even taking care of his elder sister. He even wanted him to provide for such a big family. If it was the original owner, perhaps he would really have to take care of this big family. Even though he was chanting the clear heart mantra in his heart, Ning Shu felt that his liver was about to explode from anger. Once again, his impression of Zhang Jiasen was refreshed. This incomparably selfish man. Ning Shu took a deep breath and asked again, Is your elder sister's family going to live here as well? Zhang Jiasen stretched out his hand to hold Ning Shu's hand and said gently, Elder sister is also a person with a hard life. Brother-in-law is a person who is not stingy and loves to gamble. Now that he is in the city, I will find a job for him to settle down. However, elder sister is very good to me. She saved all the money for me to go to university. Elder sister met the wrong person, so she can help take care of our parents. Met the wrong person? Ning Shu was so angry that he laughed. Meow 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 was the one who met the wrong person. After meeting a wolf like you, she had nothing. In the end, she even lost her life. Zhang Jiasen. Ning Shu looked at Zhang Jiasen with an indifferent gaze. He shook off Zhang Jiasen's hand and said indifferently, Your elder sister is good to you, not to me. What does it have to do with me? I have never used a single cent from your parents. Zhang Jiasen was stunned. Meow meow we are husband and wife. Zhang Jiasen's expression was pleading. They are my parents. If you really want to show filial piety to your parents, why don't you bring your whole family to Thompson's mansion? Ning Shu didn't say anything because she didn't want to talk to Zhang Jiasen at all. She was so disgusted that she couldn't stand it anymore. Meow meow, why aren't you cooking? Zhang Jiasen's mother walked over to Ning Shu and said. Ning Shu looked at Zhang Jiasen's mother coldly. What right did she have to be so self-righteous? Just because he was married to her son? Don't forget that her son was only where he was today because of the Miao family. If you want to step on someone, you have to look at who you are dealing with. What kind of attitude is this? Zhang Jiasen's mother was frightened by Ning Shu's gaze. She was a little flustered and exasperated. She walked over and wanted to pull Ning Shu's arm, but Zhang Jiasen blocked her. I'll go cook. You guys wait here. Zhang Jiasun pulled Ning Shu into the kitchen and let Ning Shu watch from the side. He didn't let her do anything. Ning Shu watched indifferently as Zhang Jiasun swiftly cooked. Speaking of which, in the original storyline, Zhang Jiasun had never cooked for Miao Miao Miao. It was always Miao 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 who took care of Zhang Jiasun. Miao 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 was a rich family's young miss. She washed her hands and made soup for Zhang Jiasun, but Zhang Jiasun never took it to heart. Soon, Zhang Jiasun had prepared a table full of dishes. The whole house of people swarmed to the dining table and squeezed onto it. Ning Shu didn't have a seat and didn't say anything. She carried her bag and prepared to leave. Zhang Jiasun could do whatever he wanted. Soon she would wipe out this nest of people. As long as Zhang Jiasun wasn't around, these people wouldn't be able to jump around. Zhang Jiasun saw that Ning Shu was about to leave and grabbed Ning Shu's arm. Perhaps Zhang Jiasun was angry, so when she grabbed Ning Shu, she used a little more strength. Ning Shu felt a lot of pain in her arm and directly said, "What are you doing? You're hurting me." Everyone at the dining table looked at Ning Shu. Zhang Jiasun quickly relaxed her grip and said gently to Ning Shu, "It's time to eat. Where are you going?" "Sister-in-law, come and sit." Big sister Zhang Wenlan immediately gave up a seat and let Ning Shu sit. Zhang Jiasun didn't allow any explanation and pressed Ning Shu to sit on the chair and then sat beside her. Zhang Jiasun stretched out her hand and tightly held Ning Shu's hand under the table. Clearly, she was using this method to force Ning Shu to compromise. Ning Shu used all her strength to break free from Zhang Jiasun's hand and said to the standing Zhang Wenlan, "You come and sit. You still have a child." "No need. Sister-in-law, you sit. I can just stand and eat." Big sister Zhang Wenlan quickly waved her hand and said with a humble expression. Zhang Wenlan's husband Tan Hiu said to Ning Shu in a fawning manner, "Yes, she can just stand and eat. Sister-in-law, you can sit." Ning Shu didn't even look at this man. This man was ridiculing his wife like this. What a terrible family. Eating a meal and being so pretentious. Which daughter-in-law is like you? Zhang Jiasun's mother was very dissatisfied with Ning Shu. She had a straight face and wanted to establish her absolute prestige in this new family. Ning Shu's expression was indifferent as she glanced at Zhang Jiasun's mother. She wasn't the original owner. She didn't really treat her mother-in-law as her own mother. Her sincerity was fed to the dogs. These people couldn't see it at all. Instead, they felt that this was what a daughter-in-law should do. What you've done is only natural. Evil mother-in-law was like Zhang Jiasun's mother. She wanted to pinch her daughter-in-law in the palm of her hand, just like pinching a little chick. With such a strong mother-in-law, no matter how much she loved this man, she couldn't marry him. There were many men in the world. She couldn't count on men to help her. There were many women in the world. He only had one mother. If he didn't have this wife, he could still marry another. Ning Shu felt that Miao Miao Miao's brain had a hole. She couldn't tell good from bad. In the end, she was still spoiled. She was still so arrogant in her own territory. When Ning Shu heard Zhang Jiasun's mother say this, he immediately pulled a long face and said, "My parents bought this house for me. You're living in my house. Don't make me unhappy." Zhang Jiasun's mother immediately said, "What do you mean your house? This house also has Jiasun's name. Then it's your house alone." Ning Shu smiled faintly. See, this was the result of the original owner being hot-headed and being blinded by love. They could confidently say that this house was also theirs. Zhang Jiasun didn't pay a single cent, but Zhang Jiasun's name was on the property certificate. This family could say that this house was theirs. Ning Shu looked at Zhang Jiasun meaningfully. It was obvious that Zhang Jiasun had told the Zhang family about this house. Only then did the Zhang family know that this house belonged to the Zhang family. Zhang Jiasun and Ning Shu's eyes met. Zhang Jiasun's expression was very ugly. There was anger on his face. This anger was directed at Ning Shu. He blamed Ning Shu for making everyone embarrassed. "Enough. Why are you still quarreling when you're eating?" Zhang Jiasun's father knocked on the marble table with his pipe. He probably didn't know that marble wasn't as hard as wooden tables. There was a small crack. Zhang Jiasun's father's face immediately turned red. Chapter 445. There are so many people at home. I'll buy a big table later. Zhang Jiasun helped his father out of trouble. Zhang Jiasun turned to Ning Shu and said, "Right, meow meow?" Ning Shu grinned and looked down, ignoring Zhang Jiasun's words. Anger flashed across Zhang Jiasun's face as he said, "Eat, eat." Hearing Zhang Jiasun say eat, the whole family stuffed food into their mouths as if they had been starving for a long time. Only the shy and humble Zhang Wenlan stood at the table and kept putting food into her daughter's bowl. Ning Shu did not move his chopsticks. Zhang Jiasun put food in Ning Shu's bowl, and Ning Shu chewed slowly. Zhang Jiasun's mother's mouth was full of oil. She said to Ning Shu, "Stay at home in the future and don't run around. Hurry up and have a child." Ning Shu put down his chopsticks and slowly wiped his mouth with a tissue. He said, "I have to work in the company. We'll talk about having a child later." Zhang Jiasun's mother stared at Ning Shu with wide eyes and a fierce face. Women should stay at home and have children to serve men. How can you run around all day? If you don't have children, do you want the Zhang family to go extinct? Ning Shu was speechless. He was so angry, but he still had to keep a smile. Ning Shu was so angry that he laughed and said maliciously, "Anyway, the first child will follow the Miao family's surname. It's the Miao family's child. I can have it whenever I want." Ning Shu's words stunned everyone at the table. Zhang Jiasun's parents looked at Ning Shu unkindly. Zhang Jiasun's mother said angrily, "Why should the Zhang family's child take the Miao family's surname?" "Jiasun, what's going on?" Zhang Jiasun's father asked Zhang Jiasun. Ning Shu looked curious. "Don't you know? My father said that my first child with Jiasun should take the Miao family's surname. Jiasun agreed, so we got married." "Meow meow." Zhang Jiasun and Ning Shu growled. Ning Shu raised his wrist and looked at his watch. He said, "I have to go to work. Enjoy your meal." Ning Shu picked up his bag and left. Zhang Jiasun followed him. "Meow meow 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 wait." Zhang Jiasun jogged to catch up with Ning Shu. When he saw that Ning Shu was about to open the car door, he reached out his hand and stopped her. Ning Shu looked at Zhang Jiasun. Zhang Jiasun frowned and softened his tone. "Meow meow, don't be angry. His parents are from the countryside and are more stubborn about some things. That's why I didn't dare to tell them about this. If there's anything in the future, you have to discuss it with me first." Ning Shu was about to explode. "You didn't agree to Miao's father's request out of the goodness of your heart. Now you're blaming me as if I was forced." Ning Shu said coldly, "You didn't tell me that your parents were coming. I was the last to know when they arrived. Why didn't you discuss it with me? Meow meow, you weren't like this in the past." Zhang Jiasun frowned and looked disappointed. "You weren't like this in the past." Ning Shu almost vomited blood. In the past, Meow 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 was gullible. But now that she was telling the truth, she was being unreasonable. Ning Shu pushed away Zhang Jiasun, who was blocking the car door. She opened the door, got into the car, and drove away. Talking to this kind of person was asking for trouble. Everything was built on Zhang Jiasun's success. If Zhang Jiasun had nothing, what right did these people have to be high and mighty in front of her? Everything the Zhang family had now was given to them by the Miao family. Without the Miao family, would Zhang Jiasun be able to climb up so quickly? On one hand, they relied on others, but on the other hand, they wanted to trample on others. There were too many weirdos in the world. The Zhang family's attitude was even worse. Perhaps in their hearts, a daughter-in-law was an existence inferior to others. They felt that no matter how rich Meow 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 was, she was still the daughter-in-law of the Zhang family. She should be obedient and humble. Ning Shu drank a bottle of water, but it couldn't extinguish the anger in her heart. She kept chanting the clear heart mantra in her heart. "I've been in so many worlds and have seen so many weirdos. I definitely won't kneel here. I'm not angry at all. I'm not angry. I'm not angry. I'm still so angry." At this moment, Ning Shu received a call from the head of the detective agency. He said that Ning Shu had gotten what she wanted. When Ning Shu arrived at the cafe, he didn't say anything. He first opened the file and saw a copy of the property certificate. On it was only Zhang Jiasun's name. Ning Shu suddenly laughed. Once again, It proved that Zhang Jiasun was a materialistic and selfish man. At the same time, he was also a very vigilant person. Even though Shui Man was his university sweetheart, only their names were written on the property certificate. Shui Man couldn't be compared to money in Zhang Jiasun's heart. Zhang Jiasun, who was afraid of being poor, only had money in his heart. Ning Shu kept the copy of the property certificate, along with some intimate photos of Zhang Jiasun and Shui Man. Zhang Jiasun, hee, have you figured out Shui Man's situation? Ning Shu asked. The head nodded. Yes. Shui Man is from this city. Her parents are state-owned employees. Her well-off family doesn't have to worry about food and clothing. There's nothing special about her. However, she likes branded goods. Zhang Jiasun bought her a lot of branded goods. Ning Shu sneered. One was a materialistic peacock lady, while the other was a hypocritical, selfish and materialistic phoenix man. The two of them were a perfect match. I want more intimate photos of them. For example, photos of them in bed. It would be better if it's a video, Ning Shu said. The head shrugged his shoulders. It's very difficult. Ning Shu said calmly, I believe you can do it. Even a layman like me can think of a way. For example, I can pretend to be a cleaner and put a mini camera in the bedroom. Then a video will come out. Don't tell me how difficult it is. The head was speechless. Yes, but the price. The head looked at Ning Shu. Ning Shu raised his eyebrows. Since you have so much business, I'll give you a discount. Ning Shu gave the head some money and then put all these things in the bank safe. After a busy day, Ning Shu's head was in a mess. Especially Zhang Jiasun. He was so angry that he was about to faint. Ning Shu directly transferred the money from his bank card to another card. Because this card was bound, the water, electricity, and property fees of the matrimonial house were directly deducted from the card. That was a high-end neighborhood. The property fees were not a small amount. However, all the money was paid by Miao. Zhang Jiasun did not pay a single cent for this family. Miao's brain was not only damaged, but it was also damaged. She raised Zhang Jiasun well, but Zhang Jiasun went to raise others. She would rather feed a dog. The dog would at least wag its tail and bark at people. When thrown into the water, one could still hear the splash of water. However, if she gave it to these people would think that it was natural. They would spend your money, live in your house, and even treat you like a slave. When they reached home, Ning Shu first boiled the medicinal food for Miao's father. This kind of thing was done by Ning Shu personally. She was also considered a doctor. In any case, she was also the disciple of a divine doctor. Chapter 446. Ning Shu was very concerned about Miao's father's health. She didn't want Miao's father to die before the age of 60 like in the storyline. Speaking of which, the Miao family was short-lived, especially Miao. It was also because of Miao that the Miao family was wiped out. Something must have happened that made Miao's father unable to bear it. The blood vessels in his head exploded and he never woke up again. Therefore, Ning Shu was very concerned about Miao's father's health. Miao's father drank the medicinal soup made by his daughter and looked at his daughter's pale face. He asked, "What's wrong? Why do you look so pale? Is it because your work is not going well? Or did you quarrel with Zhang Jiasun?" "It's nothing." Ning Shu waved her hand. She didn't want to tell Miao's father about the Zhang family. If Miao's father faced the Zhang family, he would probably have a brain hemorrhage in advance. Ning Shu changed the topic and asked, "Dad, what's the progress of your account book?" Speaking of this matter, Miao's father's face became as dark as Ning Shu's. He glanced at Ning Shu and didn't say anything. Ning Shu knew that Miao's father must have found something. She asked, "Dad, did you find something?" "No, it's just a small amount of money. Don't worry about it," Miao's father said and lowered his head to drink the soup. Ning Shu felt that Miao's father had found Zhang Jiasun's little tail, but he didn't say anything because he was worried about her. When she completely got the evidence of Zhang Jiasun's infidelity and put it in front of Miao's father would naturally say it. Miao's father was restrained because of her. Ning Shu sighed. He was so stupid, but he still harmed others and harmed himself. Ning Shu felt that she should add more attribute points to wisdom. It was also because Miao Miao's parents spoiled Miao Miao too much that she developed such a naive character. If Miao Miao met a man who truly loved her like her, she would be happy for the rest of her life. However, she was chosen by Zhang Jiasun. This kind of naive character was her fatal weakness. Zhang Jiasun would take advantage of this weakness and slowly nibble away at the Miao family. Ning Shu took a shower and was about to go to bed when Zhang Jiasun called her. Zhang Jiasun began to coax Ning Shu. "Miao Miao, don't be angry. Go home first. Mom and Dad are waiting for you." Ning Shu curled up into a ball under the blanket and said faintly, "Jiasun, it's already 11 at night. It's so cold. Aren't you afraid that I'll run into danger in the middle of the night?" Ning Shu threw a tantrum. "You don't love me at all. You don't care about me at all. You don't even worry about catching a cold or running into danger. You don't love me at all." Ning Shu switched off her phone after she finished speaking. She must be crazy to run back home in the middle of the night to face a family of scum. Miao 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 was too obedient towards Zhang Jiasun, and Zhang Jiasun never cared about her. Zhang Jiasun's face turned ashen after the call was hung up. Especially when there were so many people in the house watching, Zhang Jiasun had an indescribable resentment towards Ning Shu. Zhang Jiasun called again, but the phone was switched off. Zhang Jiasun's eyes trembled and he was shocked by Miao Miao Miao's attitude. Even if Zhang Jiasun felt that Miao 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 was stupid, Miao Miao Miao's personality was gentle and soft. Zhang Jiasun had a bad feeling about Miao Miao Miao. Ever since they returned from the countryside, Miao Miao Miao's attitude towards him had undergone a subtle change. This made Zhang Jiasun feel that Miao 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 was a little troublesome. Zhang Jiasun was proud of making Miao Miao Miao, the daughter of a rich family, love him wholeheartedly. But now, things had gone off track. Zhang Jiasun rubbed his forehead and regretted leaving Miao 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 in the countryside. Could it be that Miao Miao Miao's mind had been tempered by the tough days she had been through? "Jiasun, when is she coming back?" A married woman not returning home at night. If it was in the past, she would be committing adultery. Zhang Jiasun's mother was getting impatient. It was already the middle of the night. If they were in the countryside, they would have already woken up. Zhang Jiasun said, "It's already so late." She said that she will be coming back tomorrow. She will be at her in-laws' house. Zhang Jiasun's mother was even more unhappy. She's already married, yet she still runs back to her parents' house. Now that she's in the Zhang family, she's a member of the Zhang family. When Zhang Jiasun heard his mother's words, he felt that it was a little inappropriate. He said, "Mom, Miao 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 is my wife after all. You should treat her better. She's now the general manager of the company. The Miao family might be handed over to her in the future. It won't do us any good if we fall out with her." Zhang Jiasun's mother glared at him. "How can a woman manage a company? A woman should stay at home and take care of the family. Let her hand over the company to you. Let the man do these things. A woman should stay at home and raise children." Zhang Jiasun pursed his lips and looked at his mother without saying a word. Zhang Jiasun's father took a puff of the pipe in his hand and said to Zhang Jiasun, "Let's not talk about your wife for now. Find a job for your brother-in-law in your company." "Yes, brother-in-law. Find me something to do. It's best if it's something relaxing. You know that I can't do heavy work. It's too tiring." Tan Hiyu said to Zhang Jiasun casually. Zhang Jiasun frowned when he saw Tan Hiyu's nonchalant look. However, when he saw Zhang Wenlan, who was holding a sleeping child, with a pleading and expectant look on her face, Zhang Jiasun couldn't bear it. He nodded and said, "Okay, but brother-in-law doesn't have a diploma. We can only arrange for him to work in the factory." Zhang Jiasun's father directly made the decision. Tan Hiyu said to Zhang Jiasun, "Brother-in-law, can you give me the position of a workshop director?" Zhang Jiasun frowned. Anger and hostility flashed in his eyes. Tan Hiyu was scared and didn't say anything. "Brother, can you give me some money? It's my first time going to a place like this. I want to buy something. The clothes in the city look better," Zhang Xiaomei said to Zhang Jiasun. Then, Zhang Xiaomei rolled her eyes and said, Brother, I don't want your money. I'll call Meow 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 tomorrow. That way, someone will pay the bill. After Zhang Xiaomei finished speaking, she was very proud. She felt that she was very smart. Zhang Jiasun frowned. If it was the previous Meow Meow Meow, Zhang Jiasun could be sure that Meow 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 would be an ATM machine. However, Zhang Jiasun wasn't too sure about the current Meow Meow Meow. Moreover, Meow 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 was busy with the company's matters every day. She didn't have much time to meet with him. How could she have time to accompany Zhang Xiaomei to shop? Zhang Jiasun took out a stack of money from his wallet and gave it to Zhang Xiaomei. He said, "Your sister-in-law has to go to work. She doesn't have time to shop with you. Take this money and buy whatever you like." Zhang Xiaomei took the money. Her face was obviously unhappy. Spending her brother's money was completely different from spending other people's money. Zhang Xiaomei didn't feel bad spending other people's money. After all, Meow 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 was rich. Zhang Jiasun felt upset. He went to the balcony to smoke. After a while, the floor was filled with cigarette butts. Chapter 447. The next morning, Zhang Jiasun took his brother-in-law Tan Hiyu to the company to find Ning Shu, but he was told that Tan Hiyu had gone to the factory. Zhang Jiasun wiped his face and took Tan Hiyu to the factory again. When Ning Shu heard that Zhang Jiasun asked him to find a job for Tan Hiyu, he glanced at Tan Hiyu, who was looking around with shifty eyes, and sneered in his heart. Zhang Jiasun looked at Ning Shu and asked, "Can't I?" Ning Shu smiled and said, "Since you said so, I will arrange a suitable position for brother-in-law." Zhang Jiasun saw that Ning Shu was smiling at him like before, which calmed him down a little. He was afraid that she would be angry and not give him face. "It's up to you. Are we going back to the company at noon? We haven't eaten alone for a long time. Let's go to your favorite Western restaurant and I will make a reservation later." Zhang Jiasun said softly to Ning Shu. He bent down slightly and looked into Ning Shu's eyes. His eyebrows were full of tenderness. Ning Shu ignored Zhang Jiasun's affection. He raised his wrist to look at his watch and said, "Maybe I can't go. I have something to do later. Let's talk about dinner later." Zhang Jiasun's eyes flashed with dissatisfaction. In the past, Meow 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 cared about him, but now she only thought about work all day. Zhang Jiasun's face showed a helpless expression. "My wife is a workaholic, which makes me very distressed. I feel abandoned." Ning Shu smiled and said, "Don't worry, I won't abandon you." After Zhang Jiasun left, Ning Shu looked at Tan Hiyu, who was trying to please him. Ning Shu directly asked Zhang Jiasun to carry the goods and put the finished products on the truck. When Tan Hiyu heard that it was a job, he suddenly pulled a long face. He wanted to be a workshop director, but now he was just a bag carrier. "Sister-in-law, we are a family. Can't you give me an easier job? At least a workshop supervisor. Otherwise, I will embarrass you." Tan Hiyu said to Ning Shu in a flattering manner. Ning Shu, workshop director? Why don't you go to heaven? Although brother-in-law is one of us, the company has its own rules and regulations. Many people are not convinced that you are the workshop director. Take it slow, and you will be promoted to workshop director." Ning Shu said expressionlessly. Tan Hiyu touched his chin and felt that what his sister-in-law said was right. Then he went to carry the bags. However, Tan Hiyu also overestimated himself. How could a spoiled and lazy bastard like him do such hard work? Ning Shu only took a glance before she turned around and left. She had more important things to do. Ning Shu participated in the design of the clothes. Ning Shu had traveled through various worlds, ancient and modern. She had seen all kinds of fashionable clothes. Of course, Ning Shu didn't have the ability to be a designer. Instead, he gave suggestions to designers and added some new fashion elements. However, the designs were refreshing. Zhang Jiasun came out of the factory and went to the company. As soon as he entered the office, he saw Shui Man Man bending over to water the plants in the office. Her butt was slightly raised and looked very sexy. Furthermore, Shui Man Man was wearing a one-piece dress which wrapped around her butt. Zhang Jiasun was a little itchy, but he restrained himself. This was the office. Shui Man Man turned around and saw Zhang Jiasun. She smiled and then said with a little bitterness, Jiasun, why didn't you come to find me recently? Are you with Miao Miao Miao? Zhang Jiasun sat on the chair and rubbed his forehead. He looked a little tired and said, No, my parents came from the countryside. Miao 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 went back to her parents' home. Shui Man Man was a little surprised. Uncle and auntie are here? Should I pay a visit to your parents? No need. The more you do, the more likely you will be exposed. It's not good for you to go home as a secretary. Zhang Jiasun said. It was very messy now and he didn't want Shui Man Man to get involved. Shui Man Man was a little unhappy. Why? Just find a reason. Miao 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 is so stupid she won't notice. Miao 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 is stupid, but her parents aren't. Stop fooling around. Zhang Jiasun's expression was sharp. Shui Man Man knew when to stop. She knew that she couldn't make her presence known in front of Zhang Jiasun's parents. Seeing Zhang Jiasun's expression, she said, Come to my place and relax tonight. Zhang Jiasun didn't say anything. He narrowed his eyes and thought about something. Seeing Zhang Jiasun like this, Shui Man Man knew that he was thinking about something important. Since they were together in university, Shui Man Man naturally knew some of Zhang Jiasun's habits. However, he looked really charming when he was deep in thought. Zhang Jiasun had indeed been feeling quite tired recently. After work in the afternoon, he followed Shui Man Man to the Thompson residence and spent an hour or so showering before having sex. Ignoring Shui Man Man's pleas to stay, he comforted Shui Man Man with a few words before pulling up his pants and leaving. The current situation wasn't right. Zhang Jiasun didn't want to be caught. What made Zhang Jiasun uneasy was Miao 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 Miao's attitude. He had to stabilize Miao Miao Miao. After returning from the countryside, Miao 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 had been angry and had a knot in her heart. Now, Zhang Jiasun really regretted leaving Miao 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 in the countryside. At that time, when he married Miao Miao Miao, Shui Man Man was so sad that she couldn't control herself. Shui Man Man was the woman he loved since university. At that time, he thought of leaving Miao 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 in the countryside first and then comforting the sad Shui Man Man. Shui Man Man was comforted, but now Miao 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 was causing trouble. When Zhang Jiasun arrived at the factory, he saw Ning Shu checking the fabric in the warehouse. He quietly walked over and hugged her. Ning Shu was shocked. She raised her foot and stepped on the foot of the person behind her. She even used the heel of her shoe to grind it. Zhang Jiasun groaned in pain as he swung his leg. Ning Shu turned around and saw that it was Zhang Jiasun. Her expression was very exaggerated and shocked. Jiasun, why are you here? Are you okay? Why didn't you say anything? I thought it was that pervert. Does your foot hurt? Zhang Jiasun's face trembled, but he was helpless in front of Ning Shu. Okay, calm down. Don't throw a tantrum. I know you suffered a lot in the countryside. It's my fault. Ning Shu narrowed her eyes. Zhang Jiasun was really flexible. However, when he came closer, Ning Shu smelled the scent of shower gel. Taking a bath in the afternoon? She didn't know what he had done. Now, he was in front of her with such a doting look. Ning Shu felt tired for Zhang Jiasun. You're not the only one who knows how to act. Ning Shu shook her head. She looked at Zhang Jiasun and said, I'm not angry. I'm just sad. Your parents don't seem to treat me as one of their own. I thought your parents accepted me, so we got married. Now it seems that's not the case. Zhang Jiasun explained to Ning Shu, they're from the countryside. Some of their views are different from ours, but they don't mean any harm. They're not polite to you. They treat you as one of their own. Chapter 448. Zhang Jiasun patiently explained to Ning Shu that the Zhang family treated her as one of their own, as a family member. That was why they were so direct and impolite to her. That was why they asked her to do things and liked to nag her. Although their words were a little harsh, it was all for her own good. Ning Shu was speechless. Please don't treat me as one of your own. If you treat me as one of your own, then I will be tortured like this. If you don't treat me as one of your own, then you treat me as your slave. Ning Shu grinned. Zhang Jiasun was avoiding the main point and dwelling on the trivial. It was obviously an evil mother-in-law tormenting her daughter-in-law, but in Zhang Jiasun's mouth, It sounded so good. Zhang Jiasan's scumbag once again refreshed Ning Shu's understanding of scumbags. Among all the scumbags that Ning Shu had met, Zhang Jiasan was definitely at the top. Scumbags weren't afraid of scumbags, but scumbags with culture. Ning Shu didn't know how to refute Zhang Jiasan's argument about family. Zhang Jiasan saw that Ning Shu didn't speak, so he reached out and touched Ning Shu's head. Don't be angry. It's easy to get old when you're angry. Let's go home today. Ning Shu, who had his head down, shook his head and said to Zhang Jiasan, I still can't go home. Dad has been checking the accounts recently. I have to go back and help. Checking the accounts? When did that happen? Why are they suddenly checking the accounts? Zhang Jiasan looked a little shocked. Why didn't I know? A few days ago. Dad just wants to see the company's profits in the past 2 years, Ning Shu said lightly. I have to help too. I see. Zhang Jiasan nodded and smiled at Ning Shu. Since you have work to do, you don't have to go back. I'll send you back. I also have work to talk to Dad about. Ning Shu nodded. Ning Shu deliberately talked to Zhang Jiasan about the accounts. He had to see if Zhang Jiasan would do anything. When Miao Yi returned home, Miao Yi's father saw Ning Shu and Zhang Jiasan coming back together. He didn't say anything and treated Zhang Jiasan as usual. This made Ning Shu a little confused. Did Ning Shu's father not find anything? In front of the Miao couple, Zhang Jiasan was more attentive to Ning Shu than usual. For example, he only took Ning Shu's favorite dishes. No, Miao Miao's favorite dishes. She always showed her love for Ning Shu through her small actions. Ning Shu accepted Zhang Jiasan's service with a clear conscience. Since Zhang Jiasan was in a hurry, there was no need to refuse. He was just putting on a show. Zhang Jiasan felt that he had not done enough, so he wanted to stay for the night. Ning Shu's heart suddenly felt a little bad. He had already done it with Shui Man. Could it be that he still had to do it with her at night? Ning Shu glanced at Zhang Jiasan's lower part. Can he take it? Zhang Jiasan caught the look in Ning Shu's eyes and raised his handsome eyebrows. His eyes were devilishly charming, obviously thinking that Ning Shu wanted it. After taking a shower, Zhang Jiasan lay on the bed and hugged Ning Shu. Miao, let's have a child. Ning Shu smiled and nodded. Okay. Zhang Jiasan's face revealed a smile. Ning Shu continued, but if I have a child now, what about my work? Also, your parents don't agree to the child's surname. When the time comes, the two families will definitely quarrel. Jiasan, I'm actually very afraid of your mother. I don't want to have a conflict with your mother because of a child. When Zhang Jiasan heard Ning Shu's words, he was stunned and asked, Who told you this? With Miao's brain, she wouldn't have thought of this at all. Zhang Jiasan was a little annoyed as he brushed his hair. Getting Miao pregnant was the best way to solve the current situation. The pregnant Miao naturally wouldn't work anymore. But now, Miao's reasonable words made Zhang Jiasan unable to refute. Miao was doing it for the stability of her family, but Zhang Jiasan's heart was filled with anxiety. What made Zhang Jiasan the most angry was that Miao was disobedient. Zhang Jiasan's sharp gaze swept across Ning Shu's face inch by inch. With a look of scrutiny, he revealed a smile. No matter if the child's surname is Miao or Zhang, it's still our child. Ning Shu also smiled. You're right. Then he yawned, wrapped himself in the blanket, and went to sleep. Zhang Jiasan placed his hand on Ning Shu's arm with warmth. Ning Shu asked, Miao, why did Dad want to check the accounts? Is there something wrong with the accounts? Ning Shu was very awake in his heart, but he still had a sleepy look on his face. With a thick nasal voice, he said, Dad felt that the company's profits were too low, so he wanted to check. He suspected that someone was embezzling money. Zhang Jiasan narrowed his eyes and said indifferently, The environment is like that. Under the influence of the financial crisis, it's good to be able to make profits. Many companies have already closed down. Then, did Dad find anything? Zhang Jiasan coaxed Ning Shu. If someone is really embezzling money, then we definitely can't let such a parasite stay in the company. Ning Shu yawned and said, He should have found something. Dad has been very angry recently. Zhang Jiasan's hand that was placed on Ning Shu's arm trembled. Then he said softly, "Go to sleep if you're tired." Ning Shu slowed his breathing and looked like he was sleeping. Not long after, he felt that Zhang Jiasan beside him had woken up. Ning Shu opened his eyes and saw Zhang Jiasan smoking on the balcony. Standing on the balcony, his dark figure was like a ghost. Zhang Jiasan stood on the balcony for a long time with a burning cigarette in his hand. Then he went downstairs. Ning Shu followed him barefoot. At the stairs, he heard the voices of Zhang Jiasan and a woman coming from the kitchen. Ning Shu listened to the woman's voice. It seemed that she was a servant of the Miao family and had worked for the Miao family for several years. Zhang Jiasan and the servants' voices were very low. Ning Shu couldn't hear them clearly. He went directly to the kitchen door and asked, "What are you doing?" When Zhang Jiasan saw Ning Shu, he looked calm. He raised the cup in his hand and said, "I want to drink water. I can't find a cup, so I asked Aunt Ping to get me a cup. Why did you come down?" Ning Shu's eyes swept over Aunt Ping's face. Aunt Ping said, "I woke up last night and saw the young master looking for something in the kitchen. So, I got a cup for him. I didn't ask you what you were going to explain." Ning Shu replied with an "oh," obviously believing his excuse. Zhang Jiasan took a sip of water. Ning Shu asked, "Why didn't you sleep? Why did you come down? You didn't wear shoes. Aren't you afraid of catching a cold in such a cold day? When I woke up, you weren't in bed. No one was in the bathroom. I thought you went back." Ning Shu rubbed his eyes. He looked very tired. Zhang Jiasan finished the water in the cup and put it down. Then, he carried Ning Shu and smiled gently at Ning Shu. "I'll carry you upstairs. That way, your feet won't be cold." Ning Shu smiled. He didn't say anything and let Zhang Jiasan carry him upstairs. When he turned around, he saw Aunt Ping hurrying back to her room. Ning Shu narrowed his eyes and looked away. He saw a red mark below Zhang Jiasan's collarbone. Of course, he couldn't see it with a shirt and tie, but it was exposed when he was wearing pajamas. Ning Shu, Chapter 449. Zhang Jiasan was quite capable. He was able to keep his wife at home and his mistress outside. However, this was all based on the fact that Miao 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 was naive and easily deceived. Miao 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 probably never thought that Zhang Jiasan would cheat on her. She had a kind of confidence in Zhang Jiasan. She didn't know what he was talking about with the servant in the middle of the night. Ning Shu felt that she needed to pay attention to this servant. Zhang Jiasan carried Ning Shu to the bed and laid down himself. He directly placed Ning Shu's foot on his chest. Ning Shu was shocked. She wanted to retract her foot out of reflex, but Zhang Jiasan held her down. Zhang Jiasan's tone was doting. "Don't move. You didn't wear your shoes when you went downstairs just now. I'll warm you up so that you won't feel uncomfortable when you sleep." Zhang Jiasan's body was very warm. Ning Shu felt a wave of heat passing to her foot. It was very warm. Ning Shu narrowed her eyes. This man was really... No wonder Miao 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 fell for this man. Ning Shu put her foot on Zhang Jiasan's chest. It was indeed very warm. Zhang Jiasan laughed softly. His chest shook. Ning Shu asked, "What are you laughing at?" "Nothing. I just thought that our future children will be very cute. You will be just like you." Zhang Jiasan smiled. His eyes looked very gentle and warm under the light. Ning Shu, he didn't sleep the whole night and still wanted to play affectionate. She still had to deal with him. What a sin. Ning Shu chanted the clear heart mantra in her heart. She really wanted to tell Zhang Jiasan that the kiss marks on his body were already showing. She still had to pretend that she didn't know. She was really testing him. However, Ning Shu found that chanting the clear heart mantra was very beneficial. It could calm one's mood. More importantly, it could also remove the negative emotions and spiritual dirt that had accumulated in her heart. Now that Zhang Jiasan didn't sleep and pulled her to show his deep love for her, Ning Shu wanted to kick him. He must have a motive for being so attentive. The next morning, Ning Shu didn't look very good. After all, he didn't sleep much. Even Zhang Jiasan didn't look very good. When Mother Miao saw this, she covered her mouth and laughed. Although young people are healthy, they still need to control themselves. Ning Shu, a smile appeared on Zhang Jiasan's face. He glanced at Ning Shu with a smile and said, "Got it." Mother Miao smiled mischievously. Obviously, nothing had happened, but Zhang Jiasan's behavior made it seem as if they had done something last night. The family of four sat down to eat breakfast. Aunt Ping served breakfast. Ning Shu looked at Auntie Ping. She was the most senior servant in the Miao family and knew everything about the Miao family. Aunt Ping placed the vegetable salad and milk in front of Miao's father. It was Ning Shu's idea to let Miao's father eat the vegetable salad every morning for the sake of his father's health. However, last night, Aunt Ping and Zhang Jiasan were in the kitchen in the middle of the night. Ning Shu didn't suspect that Zhang Jiasan and Aunt Ping were having an affair. However, Aunt Ping was already 50 years old. Ning Shu suspected that Zhang Jiasan and Aunt Ping had a special relationship. Miao's father didn't like eating grass. He said to Ning Shu helplessly, "It wasn't easy for humans to evolve to the top of the food chain, but you let me eat grass every day. I want to eat meat." Ning Shu shrugged. "Since you're so pitiful, I'll let you eat meat buns today." Miao's father pushed away the vegetable salad and drank the soy milk while eating the fried dough sticks and buns. Ning Shu said to Aunt Ping, "Put this away." Aunt Ping was stunned. She said, "Okay." Then she took the vegetable salad away. Zhang Jiasan's eyes flashed. He ate breakfast in silence. After breakfast, Zhang Jiasan and Ning Shu went to work together. As soon as they got into the car, Zhang Jiasan helped Ning Shu fasten the seatbelt. He looked very gentle. Ning Shu said, "I can do it myself. You don't have to trouble me. I want to fasten the seatbelt for you. I want to be good to you," Zhang Jiasan said as he turned the steering wheel. Ning Shu almost couldn't help but roll his eyes. Zhang Jiasan's action was not out of love. He wanted to deceive Miao Miao. "Miao Miao, did Dad tell you about the investigation of the account book? He didn't look very good this morning," Zhang Jiasan said to Ning Shu casually. Ning Shu didn't seem to care. "Dad said that whoever did it will be severely punished. But he didn't tell me who did it." "I see." Zhang Jiasan looked a little angry. "Didn't Dad tell you who did it?" Ning Shu shook his head. But I can see that Dad is very angry. It should be someone he trusts." Zhang Jiasan's pupils shrank. He pursed his lips and didn't say anything else. When Ning Shu arrived at the company, she met Shui-Man Man who was at work at the entrance. Ning Shu looked at Shui-Man Man and her eyes fell on Shui-Man Man's feet. It was a pair of branded shoes. Although the design was low-key, Ning Shu still recognized it. Ning Shu laughed in his heart. "When the time comes, I'll make you spit out everything you took." Shui-Man Man's expression changed when she saw Zhang Jiasan and Miao Miao together. She quickly came over to greet Zhang Jiasan and Ning Shu. She put on a professional expression and said to Zhang Jiasan, "Manager, you have a meeting at 10 o'clock. Ning Shu smiled and said, "What meeting? I'll go too. I haven't attended any meetings in the company." Zhang Jiasan said casually, "It's not an important meeting. It's about sales. Don't you need to go to the factory?" "Yes, I have to go to the factory." Ning Shu nodded and turned to leave. After Ning Shu left, Zhang Jiasan frowned and said to Shui-Man Man, "Next time, don't do anything groundless. Sooner or later, you'll be exposed." Shui-Man Man bit her lips and lowered her head. She looked a little wronged. Zhang Jiasan opened the office door and Shui-Man Man followed him in. "Be careful. I don't want to fail. Be careful in front of Miao Miao Miao. Otherwise, she'll find out sooner or later." Zhang Jiasan rubbed his brows. "Miao Ji is checking the accounts. I can't look for you." "Miao Ji is checking the accounts. The finance department didn't even inform me." Zhang Jiasan's expression was a little gloomy. Hearing that, Shui-Man Man's face flashed with panic. She quickly asked, "Will they find out about you? What are you shouting about? What did I do? Why would they find out about me?" Zhang Jiasan coldly looked at Shui-Man Man. Shui-Man Man took a deep breath. Seeing that Zhang Jiasan was sitting steadily, her beating heart also calmed down. Zhang Jiasan had the ability to solve this. When Ning Shu arrived at the factory, he was told that the latest design draft was stolen. A designer said with guilt, When I left, I didn't put the design draft in the safe. I left it on the table. In the end, when I came this morning, it was gone. The latest batch of spring design drafts was the painstaking effort of the entire design department and Ningshu. They wanted to rely on the spring design to make a splash. Now, the design draft was gone. Chapter 450. Hearing that the design drafts were missing, Ningshu's first reaction was that the design drafts were useless, regardless of where they went. Stealing the design drafts was definitely something done by a competitor. Ningshu scanned the designers' faces. Ningshu went to check the surveillance footage. What surprised Ningshu was that the person who stole the design drafts was actually Zhang Jiasan's brother-in-law, Tan Hiu. Tan Hiu came to the factory and bragged that Ningshu was his sister-in-law and that his brother-in-law was Zhang Jiasan. In the video, Tan Hiu came to the designer's office and the security guard stopped him. Tan Hiu threatened the security guard to fire him and said that the factory was his sister-in-law's. Tan Hiu went into the office and rummaged around. Then, he saw the design drafts on the table. He stuffed them into his clothes and ran away. Ningshu was speechless. Ningshu fired the designer who put the design drafts on the table. The designer was stunned. Ningshu asked, "Why? Why did you fire me?" "Because of your carelessness, you caused such a huge loss to the company. Do you think you can still stay in the company?" The female designer was indignant. She took off her work pass and threw it on the ground. "I don't want to stay in a company that doesn't distinguish right from wrong." The designer turned and left. Ningshu said coldly, "Wait, you can't leave like this. I've already called the police. You are suspected of stealing trade secrets." When Ningshu checked the surveillance footage, he felt that the designer did it on purpose. She deliberately put the design drafts on the table for Tan Hiu to steal. The designer was wronged. "I didn't steal it. Why are you accusing me of stealing the design drafts? You don't have any evidence. Why are you slandering me?" The designer took out her phone and called Zhang Jiasan. "How long have you been in the company? You don't know anything." Ningshu's expression was very cold. He watched the designer call Zhang Jiasan. Half an hour later, Zhang Jiasan rushed over. After understanding the whole process, Ningshu looked at the surveillance footage and asked, "When were these cameras installed?" Ningshu sneered. "You don't care about the cameras now. Your brother-in-law stole the design drafts and the designer." Zhang Jiasan frowned, looking very distressed. "Manager, I didn't steal the design drafts at all. I've been in the company for so many years, there's no reason for me to steal the design drafts. You can blame me for being careless, but you can't pin the crime of stealing on my head. A designer needs a reputation. If I have a reputation for stealing, which company would dare to hire me?" The designer said indignantly, "Why would I do something like this that would destroy my own future?" Tan Hiu was also escorted in by the security guards. Tan Hiu, who was being held by the security guards, was still cursing. "Tan Hiu." Zhang Jiasan looked at Tan Hiu coldly. "You really can't change your ways." Zhang Jiasan pulled Tan Hiu's collar and dragged him to the front of the computer to show him the surveillance footage. Tan Hiu looked at it and immediately begged Zhang Jiasan for mercy. "At that time, a person came to me and asked me to find this kind of paper with clothes drawn on it. He gave me 20,000 renminbi. I thought 20,000 renminbi was more than Xing Ku's monthly salary of moving things around." "Bastard." Zhang Jiasan gave Tan Hiu a punch, which made Tan Hiu fall to the ground and cry out. Ningshu indifferently looked at Zhang Jiasan's action. Seeing Ningshu like this, Zhang Jiasan pulled Tan Hiu's collar and punched him a few more times. Zhang Jiasan rubbed his eyebrows and said to Ningshu, "Meow meow, I'm sorry. When he was in the countryside, his hands and feet were a little dirty. I thought it would be fine once he came to the city, but I didn't expect that he would make such a big mess. Even if you kill him, it won't make up for it. Now the most important thing is to redesign the spring style. Don't make this a big deal. If the workers know that without the design drafts, they can't work, which will cause panic." Zhang Jiasan said to Ningshu in a low voice. "There's a hierarchy of priorities." Ningshu looked at Zhang Jiasan, various thoughts flashed through his mind. For a moment, Ning Shu felt that Zhang Jiasun was behind this matter. "Who is the person who gave you the money?" Ning Shu said to Tan Hiyu, who was grimacing in pain. Tan Hiyu said, "I don't know. He only recognized money." Outside the house, police sirens sounded. Hearing this sound, Zhang Jiasun suddenly looked at Ning Shu and asked, "Did you call the police?" Ning Shu sneered. Since he did something wrong, he should be punished. "Jiasun, are you going to exonerate your brother-in-law?" Zhang Jiasun looked at Ning Shu in shock. "Miao Miao, how did you become like this?" Ning Shu's face was cold. Dad said that managing a company has to be decisive to make the subordinates obedient. The police came in, and Ning Shu directly asked them to take Tan Hiyu away. Tan Hiyu was really scared this time. Tears and snot were running down his face. Ning Shu shouted to Zhang Jiasun, "Brother-in-law, I know I was wrong. Please save me. I don't want to go to jail." Ning Shu seemed to be furious. His face was cold and he did not speak. Zhang Jiasun looked helpless. Forget it. He should be taught a lesson. Tan Hiyu was dragged into the police car. The sirens of the police car gradually disappeared, but the atmosphere in the office was still very oppressive. Ning Shu looked at the female designer. "From today onwards, you are fired from the company. You will never be hired again." The designer bit her lip. She glanced at Zhang Jiasun and turned to leave. Zhang Jiasun sighed and reached out to touch Ning Shu's head. "Don't be angry. The most important thing now is to remedy the situation." Ning Shu grinned at Zhang Jiasun. The new design draft will be out soon. Zhang Jiasun's pupils shrank. He breathed a sigh of relief and said, "That's good." The matter was resolved. Zhang Jiasun did not leave immediately. He stayed to comfort Ning Shu. Ning Shu narrowed his eyes and thought about something. It was too coincidental. The corporate spy could have found anyone, but he just had to find Tan Hiyu, who was not clean. Zhang Jiasun looked at Ning Shu's thoughtful expression and asked, "What are you thinking about?" "Nothing. You can go back. I can still hold on," Ning Shu said. Zhang Jiasun hugged Ning Shu and comforted her softly. "Miao Miao, managing the company is like this. There are all kinds of unexpected things. Miao Miao, you have a gentle temperament. It will definitely be difficult for you to deal with these things. Don't force yourself too much. I will be distressed. In my heart, I hope you can be happy for the rest of your life." Ning Shu said faintly, "Let's wait and see. If you are suffering, just tell me. I can help you solve anything." Zhang Jiasun kissed Ning Shu's hair. Ning Shu had goosebumps all over her body. Zhang Jiasun patted Ning Shu's shoulder again and then left. Ning Shu looked at Zhang Jiasun's back. Why did she feel that Zhang Jiasun's back carried a sense of complacency? What if it was really like this? Zhang Jiasun was willing to sacrifice his brother-in-law in order to give her trouble. Chapter 451. The design drafts were stolen, so they had to redesign. If they didn't redesign quickly, the spring clothes would be on the market soon, and the factory wouldn't be able to produce the goods. This matter was more than just a little troublesome. Ning Shu rubbed his forehead. The previous elements couldn't be used. Ning Shu guessed that the design drafts were in the hands of someone else. The designer worked overtime to redesign, and Ning Shu basically didn't sleep at night to review the design drafts. Ning Shu wasn't a professional designer after all. If he gave too many opinions, he would interfere too much with the designer. Ning Shu sometimes proposed a concept or element for the designer to use. After Ning Shu drank a cup of coffee, he rubbed his dark eyes and received a call from the head of the detective agency. When he arrived at the coffee shop, Ning Shu saw the coffee and felt a little thirsty, so he gulped down a cup of coffee first. "Head, gulp, what did you get this time?" Ning Shu asked. The head pushed the laptop in front of Ning Shu and clicked on the enter key. Ning Shu looked at the screen and saw two white bodies rolling together. Zhang Jiasun's expression was happy and evil, while Shui Manman's face was full of enjoyment. It was like two snakes entangled together, making Ning Shu feel disgusted. Looking at the time of the video, it was indeed that afternoon. In the afternoon he was with Shui Manman, but in the evening he told her that he wanted to have a baby. Ning Shu looked at the video indifferently, and after a while, a shameful sound was heard. The coffee shop was relatively quiet, and the sudden shameful sound made everyone in the coffee shop look at Ning Shu. Ning Shu immediately closed the laptop. With this, victory was basically in his hands. The head pulled out the USB from the laptop and handed it to Ning Shu, saying, "This is what you wanted." Ning Shu put away the USB, nodded and said, "Okay." Ning Shu made several copies of the USB flash drive's contents and placed it in the bank's safe. After a period of accumulation, Ning Shu found that he had more and more evidence in his hands. He was like a little squirrel, accumulating pine cones bit by bit. However, now was not the time to ask for a divorce. It was better to act up together. Ning Shu returned to the factory. As soon as he entered the office, he heard wailing and howling. He walked in and saw Zhang Jiasan's mother sitting on the ground. She slapped the ground and shouted, "Damn it! How can there be such a ruthless wife?" She even sent her brother-in-law to the police station. Many workers gathered around Zhang Jiasan's mother and whispered to each other. Not only was Zhang Jiasan's mother there, but Zhang Jiasan's sister, Zhang Wenlan, was also there. Zhang Wenlan was crying, and Zhang Jiasan's father was sitting on a chair with a pale face. Seeing Ning Shu coming over, Zhang Jiasan's mother immediately rushed over to Ning Shu. "You black-hearted man, why did you put your brother-in-law in jail? Sister-in-law, I beg you, let Hiyu come back." Zhang Wenlan knelt down in front of Ning Shu. "He has 1,000 faults, but he is also my husband. If he goes to jail, how can we live? Daughter-in-law, this is a family matter. How can you make a scene like this? If there is a problem, go home and solve it. Don't wash your dirty linen in public. You have lost the face of the Zhang family." Zhang Jiasan's father's face was not good. His honest and mellow face was fierce, and his aura was similar to Zhang Jiasan's. He had the absolute majesty of the head of the family. As soon as Ning Shu walked in, he welcomed the storm of Zhang family members. Ning Shu's face did not change. He first drove the onlooking workers to work, closed the office door, and said indifferently, "What are you doing? Sister-in-law, I beg you, don't put my child's father in jail. Without my child's father, how can we live?" Zhang Wenlan cried and begged Ning Shu, as if the sky was falling down. Ning Shu calmly took a sip of coffee. Can't live? There was no such a lazy man who did not support his family. Can't live without a man? Can't live without a man. This was a woman's sorrow. No matter how much of a bastard the man was, she can't live without him. She did not have the confidence and courage to live for herself. Ning Shu looked at the pitiful Zhang Wenlan. A pitiful person must have a hateful side. Zhang Wenlan had already lowered herself to the ground. There was always so much malice towards women in this world. "Meow meow meow, if you don't let your brother-in-law out, I will not let you off." Zhang Jiasan's mother gritted her teeth and said to Ning Shu, "You are simply disgraceful. How can you do such a thing and send your own family member to jail? Do you know what Tan Hiyu did? He stole the company's design and sold it for money. He caused the company to lose at least 1,000,000 yuan, Ning Shu said calmly. Zhang Jiasan's father said, "Even if that is the case, you should tell your family that you shouldn't do this. Old Zhang's family will not have such a scandal. You did not even care about your husband." Ning Shu smirked and said, "Jiasan also agreed to this matter. If there is anything, go and find Jiasan. Jiasan would not do this. It must be because you insisted on doing this." Zhang Jiasan's mother pointed at Ning Shu. Her finger almost poked Ning Shu's nose. "Get out, I need to work. If there is anything, we can talk about it at night," Ning Shu said coldly. Zhang Jiasan's mother refused to leave and insisted that Ning Shu get her son-in-law out. Ning Shu was very impatient and directly asked the security to get her out. Zhang Jiasan's mother cried and shouted at everyone at the gate of the factory. She muttered about her heartless daughter-in-law and so on. Zhang Wenlan knelt at the gate and cried and cried. It was like this for a few days. Ning Shu knew that Zhang Jiasan's mother wanted to use public opinion to make her compromise. However, Ning Shu did not care at all. The employees of this factory relied on the Miao family for a living. Would they offend their own boss for someone they did not know? Zhang Jiasun had not shown up since the incident. He only called Ning Shu and said that he would apologize on behalf of his mother. His mother was just too worried about his brother-in-law and he would do his best to persuade his mother. However, Zhang Jiasun's mother was punctual like the workers at the gate of the factory and cried. Compared to the unreasonable Zhang Jiasun's mother, Zhang Wenlan took the weak route. She knelt on the ground and cried silently. Sometimes she even brought her daughter to kneel with her. Ning Shu did not know whether to laugh or cry. However, he did not care and did not ask. If they wanted to make a scene, then let them. Moreover, Zhang Jiasun's attitude towards this matter was laissez-faire. With Zhang Jiasun's ability, how could he not be able to persuade his mother? How could he not have the ability to get Tan Hiyu out? Zhang Jiasun deliberately let his mother and sister embarrass her in front of the employees and damage her dignity. Ning Shu only sneered and ignored these people. The more he ignored them, the higher they jumped. Chapter 452. However, after several revisions, the design was finally ready. The factory could finally produce spring clothing. Miao Ying's father also found out about what happened to Zhang Jiasun's mother. As soon as Ning Shu returned home, Miao Ying's father said to Ning Shu with heartache, "Why didn't you tell us about this? This family is a bastard. If I had known beforehand, I would never have married them." Miao Ying's mother was so angry that she was trembling. Miao Ying's father looked even worse. His face turned purple with anger. Ning Shu immediately felt that something was wrong when he saw Miao Ying's father like this. He quickly tried to calm him down. Seeing that Miao Ying's father was about to have high blood pressure, Ning Shu quickly shouted to Miao Ying's mother, "Mom, go and find a needle." Miao Ying's mother also noticed that something was wrong with Miao Ying's father. She found a needle and handed it to Ning Shu. Ning Shu directly inserted the needle into Miao Ying's father's hand. When he pulled out the needle, blood splashed out. Miao Ying's father's blood pressure stopped rising. His face didn't turn as blue as before. Miao Ying's mother was shocked. "Old man, are you okay?" Miao Ying's father felt very dizzy. He lay on the sofa and gasped for breath. Ning Shu massaged his father's hand. Miao Ying's mother took a wet towel and wiped Miao Ying's father's face. Her eyes were watery. Ning Shu furrowed her brows tightly. Recently, she had been busy with the design drafts, which made Ning Shu feel mentally and physically exhausted. It was very late when they got home. Miao Ying's mother took care of Miao Ying's father's diet. After a while, Miao Ying's father recovered. He said sadly, "I'm old and useless." "Dad, have you eaten the medicinal diet I told you to eat?" Ning Shu asked. "Yes, I've been watching her eat every day," Miao Ying's mother said immediately. Ning Shu narrowed his eyes and said, "Dad, trust me. I can handle it. Don't worry." Miao Ying's father smiled with relief. "Seeing how strong you are, I won't have any regrets even if I die now." Ning Shu slowly massaged Ning Shu's father while thinking about something. Miao's father looked at Ning Shu, wanting to say something, but hesitated. "Dad, if you have something to say, just say it." Miao's father hesitated for a moment before he said, "Miao, tell me, do you love Zhang Jiasun so much that you only want Zhang Jiasun for the rest of your life?" Ning Shu smiled. "No one can't live without someone." Miao Ying's father looked a little better. He said to Ning Shu, "It's late. Go to sleep. Dad is fine." Ning Shu nodded and said to Mr. Miao, "Dad, you must take good care of yourself. I can live without Zhang Jiasun, but I can't live without you." Miao Ying's father smiled and patted Ning Shu's back. "My precious daughter." Ning Shu took a shower and called Zhang Jiasun while lying on the bed. The first thing he said was, "Zhang Jiasun, let's get a divorce." Miao, what's wrong?" Zhang Jiasun's voice was trembling, as if he was forcibly suppressing it, giving people a feeling of shock and sadness. Ning Shu crossed his legs on the bed and picked his earwax with an ear pick. He said indifferently, "I just found out that your parents don't like me very much. Your mother comes to the factory every day and curses me to die every day. Don't say that I'm your family. If your mother really treated me as her family, would she curse me?" She said that I'm black-hearted and should be struck by lightning. She's my enemy. I just found out that marriage is a matter between two families. My dad was so angry that he almost had high blood pressure. Ning Shu said directly, so, let's get a divorce. Dad, is Dad okay? Zhang Jiasen asked quickly, has he been sent to the hospital? Ning Shu rolled his eyes. Fortunately, Dad survived. Zhang Jiasen sighed and said repeatedly, it's good that he's okay. Let's get a divorce, Zhang Jiasen. I'm serious. Ning Shu said coldly. Zhang Jiasen quickly said, meow meow, don't be like this. Please, I apologize to you on behalf of my parents. They are just too worried about brother-in-law. That's why I can see that your mother doesn't like it very much. Okay, I'm hanging up. I'm going to sleep. Ning Shu turned off the phone. The next day, when Ning Shu went to the factory, Zhang Jiasen's mother and elder sister were nowhere to be seen. They were used to wailing like at a funeral. This kind of silence made Ning Shu a little uncomfortable. See, as soon as she said divorce, Zhang Jiasen immediately retracted his clause. With Zhang Jiasen's ability, he must have a way to appease his parents and elder sister, but he didn't take any action. Walking into the office, Ning Shu was hugged by a person who smelled strongly of smoke. Ning Shu wanted to push Zhang Jiasen away, but Zhang Jiasen hugged him even tighter and shouted hoarsely, meow meow. Ning Shu pushed Zhang Jiasen away. Zhang Jiasen's expression was a little stunned. He seemed to have not slept all night. His eyes were bloodshot, stubble was coming out, and his shirt was very wrinkled. Meow meow, don't be stubborn, okay? Zhang Jiasen's expression was very painful. How can you deny the feelings between us? Feelings my ass. Ning Shu really wanted to spit on Zhang Jiasen's face. Ning Shu looked at Zhang Jiasen with a very indifferent expression and said lightly, Jiasen, can you wait until I finish my work before saying these things? Do you know that I'm very tired? Your family makes me even more tired. Let's calm down. Ning Shu ignored Zhang Jiasen's painful expression. With Zhang Jiasen here, Ning Shu was too lazy to go to work, so he directly turned and left. Zhang Jiasen caught up with Ning Shu and grabbed Ning Shu's arm. Meow meow, don't do this to me. You said that you wanted a divorce because you were angry, right? Ning Shu shook off Zhang Jiasen's hand. I said let's calm down. You're annoying me. Do you know that I can't bear your mother anymore? Are you going to force me now? Zhang Jiasen's eyes flashed with a gloomy look. He pursed his lips and said, okay meow meow, don't be angry. Zhang Jiasen took a deep breath and said, I'll take you back. Ning Shu shook his head and drove to the bank to take out the things in the safe. These things should be known to Miao Miao's father, so that they could deal with Zhang Jiasen together. When Ning Shu returned home and was about to pour water in the kitchen, he found Mrs. Ping putting something into the medicine soup. What are you doing? Ning Shu reached out and grabbed Mrs. Ping's arm to pull her away, preventing her from destroying the evidence by breaking the pot. Mrs. Ping was startled by Ning Shu. Obviously, she did not expect Ning Shu to come back so suddenly. She pulled Ning Shu's hand and tried to break free. Ning Shu directly pulled Mrs. Ping into the living room. Mrs. Ping's face was pale. Miss, what are you doing? Let me go. What's going on? Mrs. Miao came downstairs. Ning Shu said with a cold face, Mom, call the police. Mrs. Ping put poison in the medicine soup. Madam, I didn't. Mrs. Ping shook her head quickly. Mrs. Miao was shocked. How is that possible? Mrs. Ping has been in the Miao family for years. Ning Shu asked the other two servants to hold Mrs. Ping and then went to the kitchen to get the pot. He said to Mrs. Miao, I want to take this to the hospital for testing. Don't let her go until I come back. Chapter 453. Ning Shu blamed himself. He had been busy with the design drafts and hadn't paid attention to Mr. Miao's health. In addition, Tan Hiu had stolen the design drafts, which made Ning Shu even more busy. Ning Shu arrived at the hospital and handed the medicine to the laboratory to see if it was poisonous. Ning Shu sat on a chair in the corridor of the hospital and waited for the test results. The person who put something in Mr. Miao's medicine was obviously targeting Mr. Miao. Ning Shu took a deep breath and thought slowly. If something happened to Mr. Miao's father, who would benefit? Zhang Jiasun would benefit both in the short term and the long term. Mr. Miao's father had been checking the accounts recently. If something happened to Mr. Miao's father, the audit would be left unsettled. At this time, the company would have to rely on Zhang Jiasun. It was similar to the plot development. Mr. Miao's father's death in the plot must have something to do with Zhang Jiasun. The death of the Miao family was Zhang Jiasun's masterpiece. What a cruel and vicious wolf. The test results came out. It wasn't poison, but something called diclofenac. It was an anti-fever, analgesic, and anti-inflammatory drug. However, long-term use would inhibit the dilation of blood vessels and the drainage of sodium, which would cause blood pressure to rise. Mr. Miao's father had a high constitution. If he ate this kind of thing, especially with the high blood viscosity, his blood flow would accelerate and his blood pressure would rise. It would be easy for him to have a cerebral hemorrhage or stroke. And they couldn't find anything. No wonder Mr. Miao's father was so strange that day. Ning Shu pursed his lips. How could there be such a vicious person in the world? Ning Shu asked the doctor to write a list. When he returned home, Mr. Miao and Mrs. Miao were waiting for him. Ning Shu told them the test results. Why did you do this? Mrs. Miao pointed at Mrs. Ping. How can you be so vicious and kill people? Miao Ying's father touched his chest with a look of lingering fear. He looked at Aunt Ping sharply and sneered. You raised such a thing. Aunt Ping, I sponsored your son's college tuition. Is this how you repay me? Mrs. Ping's face was pale as she bit her lips without saying a word. Ning Shu faintly said, There's nothing to say to such a heartless person. Call the police and let them interrogate her. When Aunt Ping heard what Ning Shu said, her body trembled. I'm sorry. I didn't do it on purpose. I didn't do it on purpose. She kept apologizing, but didn't say why she had done it. Ning Shu directly called the police. After a while, the police came. Ning Shu filed a case and Aunt Ping was arrested. Even at this time, Aunt Ping still refused to give in. After what happened to Auntie Ping, Mother Miao saw that the other servants were suspicious and vigilant. She didn't let them touch the kitchen anymore. Mother Miao even did the grocery shopping herself. Ning Shu handed the evidence he took from the bank to Mr. Miao and said, Dad, I want to divorce Zhang Jiasun. But we can't let him off so easily. He must have something to do with what happened to Auntie Ping and the design drafts. Miao Ying's father looked at the evidence, especially when he saw the USB flash drive. His face turned purple. Ning Shu quickly tried to calm Miao Ying's father down. Dad, don't be angry. At least we found out now. Ungrateful bastard, Mr. Miao said fiercely. Miao Yi's father said fiercely with a fierce look on his face. Miao Yi's father had climbed up step by step, so he understood what Zhang Jiasun was thinking. Ning Shu had a plan in mind. If he directly asked for a divorce, Zhang Jiasun might ask for a share of the property. Ning Shu wanted Zhang Jiasun to have nothing and never be able to turn over a new leaf. Zhang Jiasun didn't have any of these. What Zhang Jiasun had worked so hard to have would be far away from him. Divorce, we must divorce. Mrs. Miao slammed the table. We can't just let it go. Don't worry, Ning Shu said lightly. Ning Shu went to the police station to see Auntie Ping. If he could get Auntie Ping's statement against Zhang Jiasun, then Zhang Jiasun would not only be guilty of corruption but also instigating others to commit a crime. Ning Shu dared to bet on Miao Miao's head that Zhang Jiasun had something to do with this matter. When he arrived at the police station, Ning Shu met Zhang Jiasun. What was Zhang Jiasun doing at the police station? Ning Shu saw Zhang Jiasun walk over and asked, Why are you here? Zhang Jiasun looked at Ning Shu gently and said, I'm here to see brother-in-law. Sigh. Zhang Jiasun didn't know what to say. He just sighed and rubbed his forehead. He said to Ning Shu, This time, we must teach brother-in-law a lesson. Next time, he will make a bigger mess. Ning Shu didn't comment. Wasn't this a big mess? Wasn't stealing design drafts a big deal? Tan Hiyu was already a bad person. Zhang Jiasun asked Ning Shu, What are you doing here? Ning Shu said lightly, Auntie Ping poisoned father's medicine and is now locked up. Zhang Jiasun's pupils shrunk. He looked shocked. Poisoned? She can't be that serious. Ning Shu's eyes swept across Zhang Jiasan's face. There was only shock and confusion on his face. There wasn't a trace of panic. We will find out why she did this, Ning Shu said lightly. He walked around Zhang Jiasan and was about to go in. Zhang Jiasan turned around and followed behind Ning Shu. Meow meow, let me go with you. No need. Only one person can visit. Ning Shu quickly left. Zhang Jiasan looked at the woman's back with treacherous eyes. He pursed his lips and pulled the tie around his neck. Ning Shu walked into the police station and looked at Auntie Ping, who was dressed in prison clothes, through the bars. It hadn't been long, but Auntie Ping looked much older. She was no longer the capable servant of the Miao family. She looked desperate. Ning Shu picked up the phone. Auntie Ping hesitated for a moment. She sat opposite the thick glass and picked up the phone. Mississippi, tell me, who made you do this? Ning Shu asked directly. There must be a price worth taking for someone to do such a thing. This was murder. Auntie Ping held the phone and shook her head without speaking. You have to think carefully. What you did is murder. You poisoned my father's food. That is intentional murder. Ning Shu looked at Auntie Ping sharply. Did the Miao family not treat Auntie Ping well? Did they mistreat Auntie Ping? But Auntie Ping could do such a thing. People were so greedy and insatiable. Auntie Ping's face turned paler. She looked very dispirited. She said, I didn't want to kill anyone. But you wanted to kill my father. Ning Shu said coldly, you have to think carefully. Your son is about to graduate, but he has a mother who is a murderer. What future do you think your son has? Your son will hate you for the rest of his life. Auntie Ping's face was pale and her body was trembling. Her son was obviously Auntie Ping's weakness. She begged Ning Shu. This has nothing to do with my son. Please don't hurt him. Chapter 454. Mrs. Ping cared a lot about her son. When she heard Ning Shu talk about her son, she kept begging Ning Shu, saying that this had nothing to do with her son and that he shouldn't hurt him. Ning Shu looked coldly at Aunt Ping, who was acting like a loving mother. She only felt that it was funny. What right did she have to beg others? You told me not to hurt your son, but you didn't think that your actions would hurt my father. If something really happened to my father, you told me not to hurt your family, but you're hurting mine. Ning Shu couldn't stand Mrs. Ping acting like this. She acted as if everyone else was the bad guy and she was the one hurting others. Ning Shu said coldly, I remember that your son is about to graduate. I'll make sure he can't stay in this city unless you tell me who told you to do this. Mrs. Ping's tears made her face look even older and more desperate. However, Ning Shu didn't feel any sympathy for her. The plot didn't mention Mrs. Ping. This person who had worked for the Miao family for so many years was obviously an insignificant person in the plot. However, he didn't expect that Mr. Miao would die in her hands. The original owner didn't know anything, so Ning Shu's attention was on Zhang Jiasan when she entered the plot. If he hadn't seen Zhang Jiasan and Mrs. Ping talking that night and Mrs. Ping being caught red-handed, Ning Shu's doubts would have been answered. Zhang Jiasan had a spy in the Miao family. Ning Shu knew that Mrs. Ping was working for Zhang Jiasan, so he needed Mrs. Ping's confession. Mrs. Ping closed her mouth and didn't speak. She just said, I'm sorry, Master and Madam. I'm really sorry. What was the use of saying sorry when she harmed others for her own selfish desires? Ning Shu narrowed his eyes at Mrs. Ping. He didn't know what tempting conditions could make Mrs. Ping refuse to speak. I didn't want to kill old Master, really. Aunt Ping repeated the same words over and over again. Ning Shu just sneered. Zhang Jiasan, who was waiting at the entrance of the police station, saw that Ning Shu hadn't come out for a long time. Moreover, it was already dark. Zhang Jiasan stared at the door with a particularly treacherous and cold gaze. His clenched fists loosened and tightened and loosened, and his entire body was filled with irritation. When Ning Shu left the police station, he saw that Zhang Jiasan was still waiting at the door. He didn't say anything. Meow meow, what's going on? Why did Aunt Ping poison Dad? Did she tell you? Zhang Jiasan hurriedly walked towards Ning Shu and asked. Ning Shu looked at Zhang Jiasun with an angry expression and said, "She really doesn't want to say anything." Zhang Jiasun's expression relaxed when he heard that Mrs. Ping didn't say anything. He comforted Ning Shu, "The truth will come out eventually. Don't be so anxious. Fortunately, father-in-law is fine." Ning Shu looked at Zhang Jiasun and scolded angrily, "She really doesn't know what's going on. Jiasun, why do you think? Dad and Mom didn't hurt her and gave her a salary. We don't expect her to be grateful, but she can't be so heartless. This kind of person should go to hell after she dies." Zhang Jiasun's expression didn't change at all when he heard such curses. He softened his voice and comforted Ning Shu, "All right, don't be angry. It's not good to hurt your body. The truth will come out eventually." Ning Shu looked at Zhang Jiasun, whose expression didn't change. She was obviously scolding him indirectly, but Zhang Jiasun was so magnanimous. This man was determined and would do anything to achieve his goal. Miao Miao Miao's death wasn't unjust. "Miao Miao, you haven't gone back for a long time. Go back today," Zhang Jiasun said to Ning Shu. Ning Shu's expression became serious. "Why would I go back? Your mom will scold me again, and your sister will kneel down in front of me again. You're making me look like a bad person." Zhang Jiasun's expression was very helpless. He reached out his hand and touched Ning Shu's head. He sighed as if he had made a great compromise. He said to Ning Shu, "Miao Miao, I've already discussed with my parents and asked them to go back to live in the countryside. But the house in the countryside is too shabby and old. I think I've saved some money in the past 2 years to build a clean and comfortable house for them. Miao Miao, what do you think?" Ning Shu instantly felt that Zhang Jiasun was going to transfer his assets. Build a house? Was he planning to build a big villa in the countryside? Ning Shu's expression didn't change. She blinked and asked, "Do Dad and Mom agree?" Zhang Jiasun sighed and said, "Actually, they're not used to living in the city. It's just that brother-in-law is still in the detention center. When brother-in-law is released, they'll go back." Ning Shu's eyelids trembled. She finally understood that Zhang Jiasun could achieve several goals by doing one thing. Sending his parents back would appease Miao Miao. Secondly, he could build a house for his parents. With Miao Miao's stupidity, she might even fork out money to help build the house. Thirdly, he could get his brother-in-law out. Getting Tan Hiyu out would definitely cost money. Who would fork out the money? Zhang Jiasun's parents must have put a lot of pressure on him to get Tan Hiyu out. This person was really scheming against her all the time. Zhang Jiasun asked, "Miao Miao, what do you think?" Ning Shu smiled and said, "As long as you're happy. It seems like brother-in-law is going to be detained for half a year. It's not a long time. It's only half a year. It's not a big deal to let them stay here for half a year. After all, once they go back to the countryside, they won't be able to see each other for a year." Ning Shu was very understanding. "Jiasun, don't worry. Let them stay here for a while." Ning Shu raised his wrist and looked at his watch. He then said to Zhang Jiasun, who was a little confused, "I have to go back. Dad's health is not good. He has to go to the hospital for a checkup. Help me take care of the company. I won't be going back home." Ning Shu then opened the door and got in the car. He didn't wait for Zhang Jiasun to say anything and drove away. Looking at the car leaving dust behind, Zhang Jiasun angrily swung his arm and kicked the flower bed. His face was very ugly. Why was Miao Miao like this now? He felt that something was wrong. Zhang Jiasun stared at the police station. Did Aunt Ping say something? If she did, Miao Miao shouldn't have reacted like this. Miao Miao was simple and couldn't pretend anything. If she really knew something, she would make a scene. Zhang Jiasun felt very annoyed. He wanted to find Shui Man, but now was a sensitive time. Zhang Jiasun's heart was tight. He couldn't make a mistake at this time. Zhang Jiasun walked into the police station. He wanted to visit Aunt Ping, but was told that the visiting time today had passed. A series of setbacks made Zhang Jiasun very angry. But the expression on his face was indifferent and calm. His eyes were very deep and there was a cold aura around him. Chapter 455. The depressed Zhang Jiasun found a bar to drink. When he returned home drunk, he saw that the house was pitch black and the lights were not turned on. He didn't know what he bumped into, but the volcano in Zhang Jiasan's heart erupted. What's going on? Why didn't you turn on the lights? Zhang Jiasan said coldly. Where did you run off to? There's no electricity or water in the house. I couldn't find you for a whole day. Are you trying to starve us to death? Zhang Jiasan's mother's voice rang out in the dark. If Xiaomei didn't know how to make takeout, your father and I would have starved to death. Hearing his mother's words, Zhang Jiasan felt powerless. He took his phone to the kitchen and lit a candle. Then he saw his family sitting on the sofa. Jiasan, I see that everyone else has electricity. Why is it that only our house doesn't have electricity? Zhang Jiasan's mother was very angry. Why can't we have electricity? Brother, when will there be electricity? I was playing games when the electricity stopped. Zhang Xiaomei's twin brother asked Zhang Jiasan. Brother, about your brother-in-law? Zhang Wenlan looked at Zhang Jiasan with a sad expression. Zhang Jiasan had drunk a lot of wine. Now that he heard all the chatter in his ears, an inexplicable feeling was stuck in his heart. Zhang Jiasan picked up his phone and called Ning Shu. The first thing he said was, Meow meow, why didn't you pay the electricity bill? Ning Shu, who received the call, was speechless. She didn't live in the house. Why did she have to pay the electricity bill? What a slut. How could Zhang Jiasan have the nerve to say that? Ning Shu smiled. She even felt that it was a waste to be angry. I'm busy with the company's affairs and I don't live at home. How can I remember such a trivial matter like the water and electricity bill? It's getting late, I'm hanging up. I'm going to sleep. You can pay the electricity bill. Ning Shu yawned and hung up. As Zhang Jiasan listened to the busy tone on the phone, he felt as if there was magma surging in his heart, as if it was about to gush out of his chest. Zhang Jiasan was so angry that his chest was heaving up and down. Under the influence of alcohol, his mind was in a daze. Picking up his phone, he smashed it on the ground and practically gnashed his teeth as he yelled, Meow meow meow. While calling out for meow meow meow, Zhang Jiasan's face revealed a sinister and treacherous expression. Under the illumination of the candlelight, it looked extremely terrifying. Everyone in the room was shocked by Zhang Jiasan. Zhang Jiasan's father quickly stood up and asked Zhang Jiasan, What's wrong? Why did you smash the phone? Don't phones cost money? Zhang Jiasan's mother muttered. She looked at the broken phone on the ground with heartache. Get in the house and sleep. What are you mumbling about? Zhang Jiasan's father yelled at Zhang Jiasan's mother. Zhang Jiasan's mother looked dissatisfied, but she didn't dare to refute Zhang Jiasan's father, the head of the family. She turned around and went into the room. Only the father and son were left in the living room. Zhang Jiasan's father asked Zhang Jiasan, What happened? After venting, Zhang Jiasan calmed down and said, It's nothing. I can solve it. Zhang Jiasan's father nodded. His eyebrows were filled with trust for Zhang Jiasan. This son of his was the pride of the Zhang family. Zhang Jiasan had his own ideas since he was young. He could solve everything by himself. There wouldn't be any problems. When Zhang Jiasan was young, he was full of spirit. He could make those who bullied him suffer in silence. Zhang Jiasan's father worked so hard to cultivate Zhang Jiasan. Now, Zhang Jiasan had become the most powerful person in the village. Because of Zhang Jiasan's existence, Zhang Jiasan's father was now very respected in the village. Many people came to ask him for help. Zhang Jiasan's father was a person who couldn't fly, so he tried his best to lay eggs so that his next generation could fly. He had the cunning and scheming of a villager. Zhang Jiasan's father didn't say anything else. He went into the house to sleep. Zhang Jiasan went to the balcony and lit a cigarette. Standing on the balcony and looking at the thousands of lights, this city was gorgeous. Every inch of land was a thick stack of money. After graduating from university, he couldn't survive in this city. He couldn't buy a house in this city for the rest of his life. He couldn't settle down in this city. He was a university student in the village. Everyone who talked about him gave him a thumbs up. The praise and pressure forced him to work hard to survive here. Even if there were sacrifices, it was worth it. He had succeeded, so he had to protect his success. He had to cut through all obstacles and move forward. He used money and status to build his success and erase his poor past. Zhang Jiasen put out the cigarette, but his face was indifferent. The next morning, Ning Shu first went to the university to look for Aunt Ping's son. Aunt Ping's son didn't seem to know that something had happened to his mother. When he came down from the dormitory building, his eyes were still hazy. Ning Shu looked at Aunt Ping's son. He was an ordinary university student. Ning Shu brought Aunt Ping's son to the police station. Aunt Ping's son didn't know why this beautiful woman brought him to the police station. He didn't do anything illegal. As soon as he entered the police station, Ning Shu met Zhang Jiasen. So early? Ning Shu narrowed his eyes and looked at Zhang Jiasen. Zhang Jiasen, who had just come out, was also stunned when he saw Ning Shu. Then he saw the young boy next to Ning Shu. A trace of gloominess and displeasure flashed in his eyes. Obviously, he was unhappy to see his wife with another man. Ning Shu asked, "Why are you here?" Zhang Jiasen glanced at Aunt Ping's son. He looked at Ning Shu gently and said, "I'm here to see Aunt Ping. I just want to ask her why she did this. I want to persuade her to confess." Ning Shu was speechless. "Who is this?" Zhang Jiasen looked down at Aunt Ping's son. His temperament was very strong. Aunt Ping's son was like a chicken facing a tiger in front of Zhang Jiasen. Aunt Ping's son's expression changed. Especially when he heard this man mention Aunt Ping, he felt uneasy. In addition, this man's strong temperament made his heart pound and his palms sweat. Ning Shu said, "This is Aunt Ping's son. I brought him to see his mother." Zhang Jiasen suddenly looked at Ning Shu. "Aunt Ping's son? Why did you bring him here? Is there anything wrong with a mother wanting to see her son?" Ning Shu said to Zhang Jiasen. He brushed past him and entered the police station. Aunt Ping's son's face was pale. He couldn't believe that his mother was in the police station. Zhang Jiasen's expression kept changing. In the end, he followed Ning Shu in. "Didn't you see her just now?" Ning Shu asked Zhang Jiasen. Zhang Jiasen smiled and said to Ning Shu, "Since we've already met, we'll go back together later. Meow meow, let's have lunch together. We haven't eaten together for a long time. We don't have to go home. Just the two of us." Zhang Jiasen was using this kind of mask to hide his scheming heart. He played along, and Meow 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 was Zhang Jiasen's target. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.